Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Otter Draft League. It is season 2. We are here now. Exhibitions are finished. We are in week 1. We have the astronauts versus the Kernals. I am Noctisera. In the booth with me is Manatsu, and Caddy is our producer.
Yeah, welcome everyone. This is going to be an exciting first series of the season. We have the defending champions, the Astronauts, going against some former teammates in the Kernals. And with that said, we're already in draft.
Yeah, looking pretty interesting so far. Just got some pretty standard bans, but there really is a lot of narrative to these teams, which is really cool, right? Defoe, obviously on the Astronauts, the 3-time reigning champion, has won the past 3 seasons, both Blue Otter XEDL, EDL, and actually has drafted his former teammate from the EDL XBOL roster in Blue Man. That same teammate, who was the jungler, I believe, on that time, was Fallen, is now on the Kernals, actually. So, a little bit of a civil war going on there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of history involved too, right? Because with Defoe being a 3-time champion, he has a lot to prove. I think a lot of people didn't think the Astronauts were going to make it far last season, and then they ended up winning it all. And I think it being the first game of the series, they want to obviously have a strong exclamation point to start off the season. But we should never count any team, especially the foe's team, out if they do lose this series. But if you had to bet money, not Sarah, which team is looking a little bit better right now?
Coming out of the gate, I'm going to say Kernals. Kernals are very consistent. They drafted someone I was very high on, Kaz, who, again, not really one of those super hyper carry top laners, but one of those people, especially last season, that managed to sort of hold their own every game against better top laners, do well against top laners that were like really felt like a player that you never had to worry about. And I think that's something that can be very useful in draft leagues. In addition, something very interesting is that Giggle, Kaz, and Crab were all on the same team 2 seasons ago in our crossover league on the Hornets. Kaz was playing jungle, Crab was top, Giggle was playing mid, so a little bit of role swapping. And they did actually lose in Minters to playoffs, who would end up going on to face Astronauts in the finals, who they would defeat. So sort of all these teams sort of weaving in and out with each other. But I think the big thing here is to know that they have a lot of flexibility on their team, especially with Krabadabadoo and Kaz, who are both sort of flex players that can play both top and the support role. So who we see top, I think, is going to possibly vary from game to game. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I was in the captain's call when they were doing all the draft picks. And it was really interesting to hear the discussions, especially when it came to Giggle's pick for support in jungle. Just because if you were following the draft for Ruby, junglers really went off the board early, and so there were a lot of adjustments made. And so one of the comments someone was posting about was, "Oh, did they pick Kaz and Crab to kind of move positions, and could players move around so flexibly just because that would like help alleviate some of the role like canyons that were developing earlier on in the draft?" So we'll see how they make things flexible here, as have some interesting picks already.
Yeah, there are some pretty interesting things going on already. We see the Kaisa Thresh, not super standard. For a lot of people, usually you pair the Thresh with something like the Aphelios, like with the Jinx. Things that aren't super mobile, things that like to use that immobility as a sort of hyper carry form of damage. But I mean, if we're confident, right, Blue Man is very good on this Thresh. Not a shocker to see it locked in already. Billy Badass as well, someone who we talked about, actually played as the support for Pickles, who finished first in the regular season last season, but did end up losing in semis to 3-1 to the Astronauts, ironically. Now switching back over to ADC, seeing them on that Kaisa, which can be a very, very strong carry pick. And we see the Ashe, the Rel, and the Seraphine locked in. I assume that would have to be a Seraphine mid lane, which
Yep.
is also kind of a pick away from Defoe. Defoe is someone who loves to play lots of these sort of mages who you usually find support, things like the Brand, things like the Seraphine, things like the Lux as well. So very interesting pool. I guess he never got the memo, never quite locked new season, right? Mages go to bot lane now. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, Shen is that missed pick on B3. So that will be a Shen locked in for the astronauts.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I was expecting the brand here. You take away Xerath, you add another tanky champion and Ilaoi, and I feel like the foe would resort back to one of his comfort picks here in the brand. And it is locked in, so now they are waiting for their jungle pick, which is going to be blind. It seems like both teams are prioritizing counters for their junglers and not picking them early, so it'll be interesting to see what they round out here with the astronauts. They are missing a primary engager, right? Because with Shen top, he's more of a follow-up, and just having Thresh might not be a good idea. But no, they elect to go for the Bel'Veth, which I don't think is a really strong engager.
No, I think they're definitely playing more towards this carry potential, relying on things like the hooks, things like that Shen being able to sort of shield the Bel'Veth when they go all in, and using really the range of that brand and that Kaisa to try and do this. And are we going to see the Fallen special? I was just about to mention this. We are, and this is probably why both teams are saving these sort of counters. A lot of these players, Fallen in particular, is a high assassin jungle player. Loves to play these take over the map, kill everyone assassin type junglers. Meanwhile, Fool does have his soft spot for Skarner, which unfortunately got banned out. But other than that, loves to play these sort of auto attack more or jump in focused junglers, things like the Kindred, the Shaco, the Briar, and of course the Bel'Veth. So not too shocking to see that either. Pretty
Yeah,
interesting comps the first game, honestly. I was expecting like relatively standard, but with a couple like unique little wrenches thrown in there for fun.
yeah. I think the astronauts' comp is a little bit interesting to me just because you have a mix of a lot of team fighting and protection coming from the Thresh and the Shen, and with Bel'Veth trying to engage hard. It's a little bit doing different things compared to the Kernals. I quite like the Kernals' comp just because you do have pick potential with the Evelynn and the Ashe, but also if you do want to engage in a fight, there's the Seraphine, there's the Rel. And so I think with this draft in mind, the Kernals should be focusing on the pick potential because the astronauts don't really have much engage, and they kind of want the Kernals to kind of force on them to do these team fights, right? Because Brand wants a team fight, Shen wants a team fight, Bel'Veth wants a team fight. And so Kernals need to be a little bit more mindful in that matter and kind of focus on just picking the astronauts apart.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So for our first game, seeing the drafts, who do you think is taking game one just from draft, nothing else?
I have to give it to the Kernals just because their comp is much easier to execute. I think when it comes to the first week, and I obviously don't know how much practice these guys have had since draft only happened this past Friday. Kernals a little bit easier to execute, right? Ashe, Arrow, Seraphine ult, Evelynn picks someone up. 1v9 with the Ilaoi. It's really easy to kind of do what they're like meant for compared to the astronauts.
I would tend to agree. I would also tend to give this to Kernals game one, although I do have a bit of fear that if that Evelynn can't get ahead, that it's going to be really hard to start making plays around those maps and actually getting those picks when you're constantly on vision, when you're constantly being spotted on your camps. Everyone knows where you are. So I do worry a bit, but I think Kernals a bit easier to execute, and we'll see if they're going to be able to pull it off. For now, we are going to cut it to a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right in game when we come back. Hello, everybody, and welcome into Game 1 of our Season 2 of the Blue Otter Draft League. This first game, Astronauts versus Kernals. Both Ruby Division teams should be exciting. Teams that have played with each other and against each other a lot. Lots of players that have been around for a while. And some interesting picks. We have very big, explosive carries in the jungle, in the Belveth and that Evelyn. So rather than, I would say, a lane to watch, I definitely say watch all the lanes, because the junglers are going to be popping up, and I think a lot of the excitement is going to be where they are.
Yeah, interesting start to this game with the Kernels kind of huddling there in that entryway. I think they're expecting a Thrash or 5 invade and kind of collapse there. But it seems like the Astronauts have elected for the standard 5-point. I'm expecting this Belveth to start red and then go top, and I was expecting the Evelyn to also do the same, but we'll see. She's hovering around the blue side. But you're right, I think tracking the junglers is going to be huge here, because if Evelyn falls behind, I think Astronauts have a better way to a win.
Yeah, definitely. And we are going to see Crab in the support. Is in top lane. Just yet, once again. Both players would have to agree to it, so, it is an option if they decide to, but I wouldn't say that it's to be expected every game. Crab definitely queued up wanting to play support this season, so I would expect to have more games than not on Crab support. That being said, definitely no slouch either. Kaz in the top lane has been putting up pretty good results for the time that he's been in the draft league, and I expect much the same this season as well.
Yeah, just looking at the summoner spells really quickly, everything seems pretty standard. Teleports on the solo laners. Keystones seem to be standard everywhere as well. So I guess everyone electing to do what's comfortable for the champion. We're seeing a lot of action here in the top lane with Kaz really being aggressive with the Ilaoi. I think that makes sense. Now at this point that Evelyn started blue, since they have that blue ward on red, and so she can kind of go aggressive. Sorry, I'm at the Belveth. Belveth started bot, so Ilaoi can be a little bit more aggressive here.
Yeah, and we'll see. There is a ward on Fallen's red. That being said, Defoe, damage in the mid lane, looking for the stun, might be able to get the kill. One more auto, flash away from Greeno just a little bit too late, and Defoe will pick up first blood in this game. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Billy Badass and Blue Man beating up on Crab. Crabadabadoof being forced to flash back under his tower. Giggle trying to fire off these volleys with the lethal tempo. Blue Man with the hook will hit a minion. Nice little plays down there in the bot lane, and a great play by Defoe. Just to get that solo first blood. I was talking, how you have to be careful about Fallen potentially ganking. They saw him there, both junglers pathing topside, but it's going to be Defoe comes out on top. That being said, Kaz has been having some really great spacing and positioning in this top lane, really just beating up on Cerdnos in this early game, forcing as much damage as humanly possible. Maybe for potential dive from Fallen, but both junglers are going to spot each other on the Crab now. Dash in from the Fool, dash out. Doesn't want to catch any smoke, but going back in, the charm won't quite land, but now Kaz is here, and Greeno is too. The flash over the wall from the Fool. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Blue Man, the engage from Crabadabadoo, Billy Badass, forced with the barrier, the exhaust down. The damage isn't quite enough. Blue Man is going to be able to take out Crabadabadoo. Now Giggle trying to run down Blue Man. Does have that lethal tempo advantage, but now a flash forward from Defoe onto Fallen, trying to get anything. Greeno will not land those double E's. Now back in the bot lane, Giggle is able to finish off Blue Man, but the fight in the top side is not quite done. Cerdnos the flash on onto one. Not quite going to catch Greeno, but Fallen will be taken out. At the end of it, they'll return the kill onto Cerdnos. Kaz now 2v1 in the top side. Doesn't quite have the mana, but the grass might be enough to keep him alive. Defoe and the Fool fighting back up here, but Fool lands the knock-up, and Defoe will pick up the kill. 3-0-1 on the Astronauts mid laner, and that is the explosive start to the season that we love to see from the Astronauts.
Yeah, so just in the span of like 2 minutes, I think the Kernals' probability of winning has gone down immensely. I think having the brand being this ahead really sucks for the Seraphine, but to their credit, in the bot lane, I know we had a lot of action there. Giggle did pick up a kill and assist there, and so at least not the bot. At least they still have control of the bot side and should help alleviate some of the pains that the top side is going through right now.
Yeah, and on the bright side, Greeno was able to pick up a kill, pick up that Faded Ashes, which is going to help clear the wave a lot. The biggest thing I think here is that Kaz is going to have a much harder time bullying in that top side now that Cernos has that Bomby Cinder and is able to trade back. As I say, Cernos taking a lot of damage. Clearly, Kaz is not afraid, but,
Yeah.
is going to go that call. Something that we see on Alawis when they don't get that first blood and that early kill, usually, they elect to go for a more mid-game focus. They try to do as much as they can in that early game, and then once the mid game comes online, that item and a half spike-ish is where they really start to go out. And you can see jumping in with the grasp, but both players getting very low, and Cernos
Oh.
dashes in, uses that taunt to pick up the kill, and will finish off Kaz. Now 0-2 on that Alawi. And like I was saying, that top lane suddenly got a whole lot harder. All that advantage that you had early as Alawi, all that great spacing, really doesn't mean that much anymore.
Yeah, this really sucks for the Lawi here, especially with Shen at level 6 now. They have to be wary for the Shen ult. Evelyn, though, is approaching the Shen.
Yeah, gonna look for it. Is gonna land the charm. Looking for the Qs. Fallen will find the kill on the Shen. Pick up that quick little return and start getting on the board as that Evelyn. That's really useful. Evelyn is a champ that really does not like to be turbo far behind early, so being able to pick up that kill, get on the board, is going to be very, very useful for the Kernals going forward.
Yeah, interestingly enough, because there's a big wave pushing against the Lawi, the Belveth is going for the Grubs here, Bran helping as well. And I believe all three should be going towards the side of the Astronauts.
Yeah, and that is a nice little pick, right? Your top laner does die, but you get the kill for it. You manage to pick up the grubs with all that tempo. Defoe's over there as well to make sure that there is no contest. And picking up those 3 Void Grubs is really good. If you're able to get all 6, can be really, really powerful for that Shen, right? You're running that TP, which gives you a lot of liberal use of that side lane. You're able to go in there, possibly pick up a Titanic Hydra, pick up that Sunfire and Unending Despair, and just sort of sit in a side lane. You can always just ult into fights. You can TP back if you need to. So being able to get that split pushing threat online early is going to be very, very useful.
Yeah, that makes sense a lot, especially considering Shen and Alawi will be probably later in the game just side laning for the entire time. And so whoever does get control of the Void Grubs would help a lot in there for their team.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, there's no way for Alawi to really interrupt Shen if he does decide to ult. So if
That's
Alawi and
true.
Shen are sort of matching in the side lane, the big thing there is that Kaz is either going to have to show up to the team fight early, giving Cernos time to maybe get something in that off lane, either one, top or bot, anything in a side, while his team just sort of delays time, uses that brand, uses that Kaisa to buy time. But as I speak, there's a little fight down on the bot side
Whoa.
with Giggle and Crab missing the engage, but it doesn't matter. The charm from Fallen is good, so they will pick up the kill. Little bit messy, but you do manage to pick up one of the kills, so you're not too upset about it. Fallen, 2 kills on the board now, is getting very far ahead, is up a little bit of CS on Belveth, who's gonna equalize that pretty soon. Meanwhile, now Fallen going onto Billy Badass, looking for the execute damage, but it's not going to be enough. Kravadebadu will not land the Lance. Now Giggle looking to possibly run this down. Fool is not going to shore up his bot lane, instead electing to keep farming, realizing that he can't really do anything in that bot lane. If he tries, there's a very good chance of just dying. You don't have that empowered Belveth form yet, right? So
Yeah, good.
just going to keep
Yeah,
farming it up
exactly.
and giving the tower plates no real reason to try and fight over that.
Yeah, good hesitation there from the Kaisa. She had her flash up, but knowing that they couldn't kill her, saves the flash there. All of this, though, Belveth has been farming bot to top, getting ready to help the Shen here, who's kind of struggling in the laning phase. But fortunately, the wave has crashed. We'll see if the turret plate goes down, and I don't think it has. Okay, I think this is going to be a little bit of a calm before the next objective, which is going to be, I think, the next Grubs, right?
That does look about correct. I believe they're up in another 2 minutes, 3 seconds, give or take. 2 minutes, give or take. So I think they will be up before the next drag. So that probably will be the next fight over, especially you don't want Belveth getting those 6 Void Grubs. You don't want Shen getting those 6 Void Grubs. So probably going to have to be pretty careful about that. I will say, Kernals did manage to pick up the first dragon despite all of this, which is really good. Now the Fool and Fallen, possible fight in the top side. The charm is good, but the Shen ultimate onto the Fool, and the damage is so massive. the taunt into the knockup before he can even answer, taken out. But now the Fool onto Kaz. The Leap of Faith comes out. The Blast Cone over the wall, but it might not be
Ooh.
good enough. The slows here. The knockup onto Kaz. The Fool dashing away, trying to get something. Now taunt back onto Kaz. The flash forward from Defoe. The charm onto 2. It's going to be Kaz with the tentacle fadeaway, is able to pick up the kill. But now Defoe trying to chase down Greeno. They are going to be able to pick up Kaz. They'll see if they can pick up Greeno as well. The Pillar of Flame into the passive, but it's going to be Greeno who actually picks up the kill. Gets that extra bonus execute damage that you get on that Seraphine to pick up the kill. Now on the bot side, Giggle, Blueman, and Crab all fighting it out. Billy Badass slashing forward, trying to use that Ignite onto the Ashe to get that little bit of extra damage. An amazing hook from Blueman, but flashback from Giggle. Excellent kiting so far. Fallen is coming down here to maybe look for something. The flash forward from Crab to make sure Giggle can finish this off. Now the re-engage from Crab, jumping down with that crash down, picking up a little bit of help for Fallen, who's going to land this charm, and they're just going to give it over to that Evelynn. And Kernals now with the kill lead. Still down a little bit of gold, but only by 200, and the map has evened out significantly because of all this fighting.
Wow, okay, so much to process. So at the beginning there, the beginning sequence, we saw the Bel'Veth being able initially to leave, but as I say this, they engage on the foe here.
Yeah, a little bit of damage coming out here. The Pillar of Flame trying to get something, but he doesn't quite have the Pyroclasm up. The flash forward from Fallen, and the Whiplash back to safety.
Yeah, they need to go
really
grab
nice
Breath
plays
here,
there,
though, before Bel'Veth takes the final one. That's huge for Astronauts. And as Evelynn approaches here, Bel'Veth does slay the last one.
Yeah, they managed to secure it. Now heading for top gank onto Kaz, who doesn't have that Leap of Faith back up, but maybe not tracking that tool cooldown. They don't want to go in. They don't want to risk this. Fool, I don't believe has the wall Empowered Empress. Maybe he does, but charmed up now. Has to take the Lantern out, trying to use that damage, but he's actually going to pick up Fallen in the 1v3. Now Surdnos in with the taunt, trying to find more. Crab Dabadoo knocks back Fool, and Greeno will manage to finish him off. Kaz now, low HP, but does have that grasp, does have that tentacle healing. If he's able to get it, an amazing dodge out on the flash, able to pick up Blue Man. Crab Dabadoo has to be very careful, but the arrow from downtown provides just enough time. The crash down shield as well to buy a little bit more. Surdnos, Fool, and Blue Man all go down in that fight. They did manage to pick up those Void Grubs, but at what cost? Kernals now with a 1,000 gold advantage, 12 minutes into the game, looking to try and push this further, and that's not what you want to see. You do not want to see Fallen getting ahead with this Dark Seal. Greeno completely turned around from the 3-0 lead Defoe had before. Giggle as well, chilling in that bot lane. Only down a little bit of CS, but has that static shift, has those boots, and with the Dragon coming up, I expect to see a fight. Maybe a little bit of a pick. Billy Badass trying to run back under tower, but the charm from Fallen is good. They're able to get the damage. They're looking for a little bit more, and Giggle will pick up the kill.
Wow, we have had non-stop action so far in this first game. And unfortunately, because we don't really have a replay system, it's hard to kind of track how that all started. And as I say this, I think there will be another fight coming up as the 4 members of Kernals looking to pincer the jungler. And no, we have a pause.
Yeah. So interesting thing to note, I do believe that Bel'Veth no longer has her Endless Banquet form, the true form. We'll have to check on that. I'm pretty sure she lost it in that last fight, but I'm not 100% certain. We will have to get that checked out for you. In addition, the positioning just off the pause does not look great for Astronauts here. You have Crab, Giggle, and Fallen all down here. You have Greeno off to the side with that charm, can land it whenever. They do spot him out on the ward, so is going to be forced to back up, but has to be a little bit careful. They don't have that Ashe arrow to really start things off. They do have the Rel ultimate, though. They do have Fallen with that last caress. Game should be starting up slowly. This is a bit of a known spectator issue. It says we'll resume play in 0. Just give it a sec for the game to catch up. It'll all be fine soon. But yeah, just looking at the scoreboard right now, I'd say, Kernals definitely look like they have that fight advantage, but I would say, like, if you're Astronauts, what do you think your win condition is? Like, how do you think you get back into this game?
I think you don't contest this Drake. I think you go away because Billy just came back up. You're missing a lot of... Oh, no, you have all your ults, but I think just by not having your AD carry there, you kind of have to cede control over here, and I think they do. They're not going to go for the steal either, so the Kernals do grab that second Drake. I think if you're the Astronauts, you got to stop forcing a lot of these fights. I think there's a lot of jitters going on, and forcing fights when they can, even though they don't have the setup for it. I think they got away with a lot of these early victories because of it. But now that the Kernals are a little stronger, I think you have to play a bit more calculated.
Yeah, an interesting thing to note, Kaz also finished up with that Black Cleaver. That's going to make top much more one-sided. It's going to make the Shen and the Alawi matchup a lot more Alawi-sided. It's going to be a lot harder to deal with. You're going to be shredding a lot of that armor that's going to give you not just more damage, but also more healing. Dash in from Cerdanos, try and land a little bit of a taunt, but the damage, you can see that healing too as well. Just really, really good. Able to sustain Kaz for a long time. And we are going to get the Chem Soul, it looks like. You can see the Empowered Plant over there, even if you can't see it on the scoreboard. Meanwhile, Fool is just going to go for that Rift Herald. If he's able to pick that up, get his true form back online, get that extra objective, it's going to be really massive for him, and he is going to be able to pick it up.
Oh, they're going to go here
Right
for the foe.
The Pyroclasm trying to slow down Fallen, needs to be able to make it to this Blast Cone. He's going to be able to do it, looking for it. The last Caress now, falling back, Fallen being forced to fall out. Cerdanos going in with the ultimate, but it's going to be the Ash Arrow to pick up Defoe. Now a fight, everyone's here. Fallen with the Royal Maelstrom, picks up the first kill. Blue Man still alive, able to maybe land a hook, but Cerdanos is going to go down in the process. Now they're looking for Crab, who's trapped in the middle, goes over with the Blast Cone. Fool, maybe looking for more, maybe looking onto a knockup, a 3-man knockup on all of them. Greeno pulled over by the hook, an amazing crash down onto 2 to try and save a little bit, but it's going to be Fool picking up another kill. Billy Badass going forward, trying to find Giggle. If he's able to pick him up, get that extra reset, he will be able to. Now Fool going forward, looking maybe for Crab, but just a little bit too far away, safe under his tower. Amazing knock up there from Fool, and an amazing thread of the needle from Blue Man to land that hook onto Greeno all the way in the back, and they're able to pick up that fight going forward, and another pause coming out. Hopefully we get these issues resolved. I do assume that maybe player has a little bit of a choppier connection if we're seeing this constantly after fights, because you are not allowed to pause in the middle of fights. That is a rule to sort of dissuade people from being like, oops, I disconnected, and then just pausing a fight in the middle of it, trying to throw off the enemy team. But all in all, amazing fights so far for the Kernals and for the Astronauts, but the Astronauts sort of hitting back in that fight. Fool able to pick up a lot, sort of get themselves back on the board.
Yeah, I think all of that, I mean, the concept was good from the Kernel side. They were trying to pick champs. I think it all started with Fallen trying to kill off Defoe. And I think the biggest difference maker there was the Shen ultimate, right? At a certain point, you get overpowered by the number of characters that are there, and so the Kernels did fall in that fight. However, on the flip side, though, that leaves kind of Alawi to her own devices. She got first tower, I believe, and then might be pretty close for that second tower. But it's also important to note how much stronger she would have been with getting these towers if the Kernels had priority for the Void Grubs, right? Because I think in the Astronauts' head, they had to deny that buff to Alawi, because, yeah, in moments like these where the 2 side laners are on the side, Shen will ult. And so Alawi, at that point, is just forced to push as hard as possible.
The empowered form from the Void boss as well, off that Herald, so going to be extended for even longer, extending even more off these fights. So Fool just wants to keep fighting. Fool wants to keep going forward and keep extending this lead with this Void form to make sure that it doesn't fall off. If he can keep it up all the way until the next dragon, it is going to be absolutely huge for Astronauts. But to do that, you need a fight every minute, minute and a half. So you're going to need at least one more fight, maybe 2, depending on the timing, to keep that form empowered. And you can see just pushing down in the mid lane now, trying to get that tower. It's going to be able to get it. Crab might have been a little bit too far forward, but uses the crash down to get out. Being careful. Billy Badass is low. He's looking for him. Billy Badass hopping quite low, running into the jungle now. Fallen, trying to stalk his prey. Knows that he's in the bush. Is going to be seen immediately. Billy Badass trying to get away a little bit. Flashes over the wall. Is on that Blast Cone now. Fool back over, trying to find Fallen. Looking for the knockup, but we won't be able to find it. Meanwhile, the top laner has showed up to the fight. Kaz looking for Billy Badass. Is he able to finish him off? Yes, he is. Now Fool manages to get the reset. The Leap of Faith from the Alawi. Looking for Cerdanos. Fool onto Greeno. Trying to find a little bit. He does still have the flash out, but he's not going to be able to use it in time. Isn't able to have that encore. But Kaz was able to pick up 1 kill. Is able to pick up 2. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow for 3. A 4 for favor of Kernal, not letting up in the slightest. Fool thought he had an advantage, thought he had that empowered form, thought he could win these fights, but it won't matter. It's going to be Kaz showing up to his first team fight of the game and dominating.
Yeah. Even though the foe here is gonna grab the top tower, allow it will equalize with the bottom, and I was really surprised with how hard the Kernals won that fight, considering most of their ults they were not used in that fight, right? I think Evelyn was waiting for her ult to come back to escape, but unfortunately it wasn't available. We still have the Seraphine ult, we still have the Rel ult. I think Rel wasn't there at the end of the fight. I forget if she got picked on early or if she was coming from base. But essentially it was like a 3 or 4 ultimate exchange for like 1 or 2. And as I say this, the foe is about to get picked on by this Evelyn and Rel.
Perhaps. We do see the stand united, but oh my god, is the burst too much. Fallen able to take him out. Anything. An amazing engage from Krabadabadoo. The Magnet Storm into the Encore. They're able to pick up Blue Man, seeing if they're going to be able to pick up more. They don't have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, so Cernos is just going to be able to try and run it out here. Fool backing up as well. Amazing combo there, forcing out 2 flashes to try and get anything. But they're able to get the 2 kills now. Dragon up in 30 seconds. Both teams going to be trying to back off, maybe play for that, maybe get a team fight. They will know they shouldn't have an Encore for this Dragon. They might not have the Magnet Storm back in time. I think they'll have the Last Caress right when it spawns.
Perhaps, yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah, they're going to be down a lot of ults. They will have Giggle's ult. They will have that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They will have Kaz's Leap of Faith, and that's going to be the biggest one to watch. That's sort of that teamfight ultimate big takeover. They don't quite have the stand united, but they do have that Pyroclasm. They do have that box if they need it. It's really badass. Can reposition with that Killer Instinct. So you do have a lot of these ultimates up if you're the astronauts, but you don't have a ton of prio right now, right? You're getting that red buff. You're sort of trying to swoop out, slowly clear out vision. You don't have Cernos with the stand united, but you do have the TP if needed. So we'll see how
but
this shakes out.
Shen is electing to stay at the top lane. Meanwhile, there is a lot of vision on the side of Kernals here in the bot lane, so the astronauts have to be a little wary in entering this, and they're just starting up the Drake.
See if they're just gonna try and give. They might just try and jump over the wall and steal it, is what it looks like. Fool having to buy time going forward, but isn't able to quite get it, taking the lantern out to safety. Sole point now for the Kernals, and I think it's part of astronauts. They don't have the positioning. They don't want to try and fight it. They go for a little bit of steal. But they don't want to invest in any flashes or anything, just using quick cone in, quick lantern out, and nothing really to worry about there. Now Kaz, with all that extra gold, is going to be a split pushing menace in the bot side as Baron is going to start spawning, and astronauts really want to look for that, but it's going to be really hard with the strength that they have. Kaz doesn't have TP though, so if they're going to make something happen, now would be the time.
Yeah, it looks like Brand is going to respond to the Kaz split push, but it will get eat away. And wow, that is a lot of damage going on the foe here.
And the Leap of Faith as well, just to get a little bit more. Kaz looking maybe to see if he can get a flash forward. Foe having to dodge out on all these tentacles, and he won't be able to do it. Doesn't know the dodge technique. It's going to be Cernos being forced to TP to the bot side now. Kaz should still win this fight with all this healing, if I'm not mistaken. Has a lot of tentacles near that tower, so going in, but not able to find anything. Krabadabadoo with stun on 2, though. A little bit of a rhyme scheme there, and Fallen will pick up the kill with that last crest. Blue Man going forward, but Crab flashing out, not able to pick up the kill. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Kaz is going to fall to the Fool. Very close fight, but not quite able to pick it up. Blue Man falls again in the mid lane, as Cernos was forced to rotate up and use that stand united, but it won't matter. The team is alive. Fallen, Giggle, Greeno, and Crab now onto the Baron. Fool nowhere to be seen, and this should be a relatively easy pickup, right? Brand, you can see walking up. The Shen might be able to
Brand teleport.
In. Forget what I said. This could definitely be something. Doesn't have that Pyroclasm, but we do know the Brand AoE damage could be insane, and there it is. The first pick onto 2. Now the engage from Crab onto Defoe, but the Fool is here to try and shore up some of that weakness. The knock up onto Giggle. Fool's going to be able to pick it up. Now Brand trying to dodge out. Defoe looking for one more, and he's going to be able to find it. And astronauts pick up the ace with that Defoe TP, and that's what I was saying. You can never count the Brand damage out. It will always be something a little bit crazy. A little bit of a mistimed hook there from Blue Man.
Oh, another teleport used here.
Away. Yeah, Kaz just forcing them off that Baron, which they probably would have been able to get had Kaz not invested that TP, but with that TP, they won't be able to get it. Just going to try and reset. And I think if you're the Kernals, you say, okay, things are going a little bit crazy right now, you know, back and forth. We keep winning these fights, and then we're throwing that lead by trying to force a little bit too far. But we have the soul point up, or sorry, we have the soul up in 2 minutes 30 seconds. We're probably fine trading Baron for it. Getting soul is really, really big here, right? That especially that buff at 50% HP, that's going to be really, really big, specifically for that Evelynn and for Kaz, right? Kaz is going to be able to turn those close fights, do those 1v3s a lot more with that Chemtech Soul, and Evelynn's going to have a lot easier time getting in, buying a little bit of extra time with that durability before using that last caress to assassinate. So I think if you're Kernals, you just chill a little bit, you wait. The gold lead is relatively even, right? So you don't have that crazy lead, but you are going to be able to get positioning on that drag, or at least you should be able to. You have the vision from those hawk shots. You have all these pick ultimates, and if you force astronauts to walk into vision, or walk into darkness while you have vision, it can be very dangerous for them.
Yeah, it seems like the astronauts are prioritizing vision on this Baron, though, as the bot side of the map is completely dark on the side of astronauts. They are looking to pick the Alawi here, and let's see if they're successful.
Yeah, an unfortunate missing that Test of Spirits. Leap of Faith is available. Finally going to use it, but the Ignite comes down. The Anti-Heal comes down, so it's not quite enough. When something like that happens, you have to be very careful. Because if you miss that E as Lowy, if you miss that Test of Spirit, the chances of you being able to pull off that 1v1, 1v3, 1v a million goes down
Good
drastically. Meanwhile, in
flash.
the mid lane, really good flash from Giggle, but that is no flash on your main ADC now. A minute to the soul fight. Fallen is on the flank, though. They are going to be turning their sights towards that Baron. Kaz does not have TP and isn't up for another 15 seconds. If they decide to fight this, they will be doing it for 5.
Yeah, they do have vision of them on it. They are approaching Evelynn looking for a flank here. Will she get one?
Big combo could be had. Crab, maybe Greeno with the Encore. The engage now
Oh.
onto them. Greeno looking for something, but it's going to be Cernos and Fool onto the back line. And Giggle looking for something, looking to kite away, but he's not going to be able to do it without any of the flash. Meanwhile, on the backside, Billy Badass taken out first. An amazing Magnet Storm now from Crab to try and find something. Is going to be able to pick up that kill. Greeno now trying to buy time for support by a little bit, but he might have stepped a little bit too far forward. Fool trying to run him down, getting all those autos, and he will take them. Cernos now onto the support. Now Kaz here finally shows up, looking for a little bit more. Is going to be able to land that Test of Spirit into Leap of Faith now, looking for Surdnose, but it is going to be Fallen, trying to assassinate Blue Man. He will be able to take him out. Now it's going to be Fool versus Kaz. Dashes away, but the Iceborne Gauntlet might be enough. No, it will not. Fool will be able to make it out with that Baron, and so will Surdnose, taking the back off. Now, Soul is up. Fool, gonna go for that. Kaz, probably not going to be able to stop him. Surdnose does have that TP if they really need it. They are going to be able to just melt this dragon. You can see the Belveth just going crazy with those autos. I'm curious kind of how much Lavender stack she has right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is choice selection in these big fights. I think Crab is doing a good job in trying to engage and try to have like an amazing ultimate there. But unfortunately, usually when that happens, and I think it's happened the past 2 or 3 fights, Giga has been left kind of to fend for himself. Like no one is attached to this Giga. Either the Seraphine is way on the other side, or the Evelynn is trying to assassinate someone on the other side as well. I mean, we did see Fallen assassinate the Kaisa pretty early on in that fight, and yet lose so fast because on the other side, we just saw the Belveth diving into the Ash with no help at all. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how the Kernals kind of approach the next fight. And I'm kind of shocked that we're not seeing any form of anti-heal because this Belveth has been able to stay alive with its lifesteal, I think, from its runes. So I'm quite surprised that they haven't elected to build any.
Yeah, and you would imagine on the Seraphine going to be able to get a lot, but meanwhile, the engage now. Crab goes in, but it's going to be Fallen taking out immediately. The charm barely misses the Fool, but is landed onto 2. A nice little encore, but an amazing hook from Blue Man there. And Fool will go in for the second kill. Giggle and Crab now trying to defend a little bit. It's going to be Kaz TPing to this tower, trying to defend a little bit, but the taunt goes in, trying to find him. They are able to find Giggle, and Giggle will be taken out in no time. Crab trying to buy a little bit of time. Crab going in, trying to buy time for his top laner. Kaz with a leap of faith, but he won't be able to out-heal. And it's going to be Astronauts with game 1 in an absolute banger of a game. 27 minutes into the game. What is that? 60 kills in total in that game. That is more than 2 kills a minute. Absolutely insane bloodbath of a game.
Yeah, honestly, great jobs to the astronauts kind of fight and play to their comp. I think the Colonels, I have no idea. I think they were too confident with how they were winning their fights, but they're not a team fight centric comp. But they kept on engaging, and that's what the astronauts wanted them to do, right? They didn't have a big hard engage against the Colonels, and so with them electing to always fight, always grouping, it kind of opened the doors for astronauts to take over the game.
Yeah, no, and I think overconfidence is the best way to put it, right? Just winning those fights so handedly, and you look at all this and you think, did we really need to fight like half of those? Couldn't we have just
Yeah.
rested on our laurels, kept this gold lead, waited till objectives, and just made them come into us? Use that pick potential. Use all the vision that you get from that Ash to just make sure that we're landing these early picks, taking out Defoe, taking out Billy Badass, taking out Fool before a fight even starts, and making sure that they can't run wild in these fights like they did. And really, I mean, this game was all about the Bel'Veth, right? From that fight around the red buff Raptor pit, right? That flash forward, the knock up onto three.
Hmm.
That's really where that game turned around for Pool and was able to absolutely take an insane lead with it, right? You gave that man an inch, he took many, many miles and used it to close out that game. And this is something we saw constantly, right? The Kernals would get a 1K, 2K, 3K gold lead, and then 2 minutes later it would be gone. So I think if you're Kernels, the biggest thing going into the next game is, you played well in the early and mid game, right? Like it wasn't bad. You just went a little bit too far. I don't think the draft was an issue either. I think, you had a solid plan. You were sticking to it for the most part, but it just let it get to your heads a little.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I think the same can be said about the astronauts, right? They won a lot of the fights earlier in the game, and so they were kind of overconfident. And then you saw the Colonels actually winning fights, and so it kind of was a back and forth between these two teams who thought they were very confident in the selections of their engages, but then the other team would win, and then ultimately, with especially with the Bel'Veth and how fed she was, kind of ended the game by herself, right? No one was able to kill her. She could just do what she wanted and really like just assassinate. I think Bel'Veth was a better assassin compared to the Evelyn, at
Yeah,
least towards the end of that game.
yeah, towards the end of the game, especially, the Evelyn just had a very hard time because you might be able to maybe get on that brand, but once you pop into Vision, Brand can just automatically stun you, right? It has a very easy skill shot to land, very wide. You have the point and click on the E if you're going to be able to land that, right? Kai'Sa can follow up on anything Bel'Veth dives because of that killer instinct. You have the Thresh to pull anyone out to safety, so you just really don't have a way onto that backline reliably. Meanwhile, Bel'Veth can just flash forward, and if you're Ash Rel, all of your engage was used already, right? Going forward.
Hmm.
So really you just kind of have the encore. Once that encore runs out, there's really nothing stopping you from forward. So I would say for both teams, based on the next game, right? Astronauts, congrats. You did win this first game, but if you play exactly like you did last game, you're still at a definite risk of losing that out of nowhere the same way you won out of nowhere, right? A very quick game ended probably a lot before people sort of expected it to end, just because of that last fight in the mid lane. So I would say for both
Yeah.
teams, maybe don't go back to the drawing board, but maybe reassess our confidence, reassess our fights, and take those learnings into the next game. But for right now,
Yeah.
we are going to cut it to a short break. When we come back, we'll be in draft for game two. Don't go anywhere.
They say I have a grim sense of humor.
Welcome back to game 2 of the first Blue Otter draft week of season 2. We're getting right into draft. We see Devane, Skarner, and Viego bands. I believe those are just the same bands. And correct me if I'm wrong, because Kernals lost the first game, they do get side selection, correct?
Yes, Kernals do have side selection for game 2 because they lost that first game, so they should be pretty apt in this. They are going to lock red side similarly to last time. So they do prefer that counter pick, it seems like. Definitely don't feel like it was a draft reason that they lost. So yeah, I'm not too worried. I think it should be okay.
Yeah.
The big thing I think is really for both teams was the sort of confidence last time and maybe a little bit of overconfidence. And I think if both
Oh.
teams can sort of correct that, it should be good. But we are going to see a bit of an adaptation, the Shen ban coming out from the Kernals.
Yeah, they'll leave. So previously they did ban the Blitzcrank here. So we'll see if astronauts elect to blind pick the Blitzcrank. I doubt it. I think they should go back to the Kaisa, but no, they will make the game a bit more interesting and pick the Seraphine away from the Kernals.
Yeah, looking pretty strong, I'd say right now. I think that Shen was really good last game because, right, like, you weren't as crazy with the Alawi, but the big thing about it was that you were able to sideline, you were able to shore up a lot of potential in these fights, so I'm not surprised the Kernals don't really want to see it. A little bit of adaptation, though. We are going to see the Jinx locked in, so a bit more of that hyper carry for Giggle over that supportive pick like the Ashe. Going to want to put that on there, and it's going to be the Seraphine locked in. This is a flex, but I'd imagine this goes to Defoe, sort of a Defoe classic right there, so yeah, not really shocked about that one.
Yeah, I think if you were Kernals and you're prioritizing jungle counterpick, I think you pick your support here or your mid actually against the Seraphine. I don't know what he plays, but they are gonna select. Wait, yeah, actually that makes sense. The Veigar.
Yep, there it is. Not shocking at all. Greeno loves this Veigar. He loves being able to pump out this sort of scaling damage, and is quite prolific on it. We saw him caught a lot of Veigar bans in the later stages of last season, so I would not be surprised if maybe we see a ban game 3 if this does work out for Kernals. If not, maybe back to the drawing board for week 2. But meanwhile, Astronauts picking up the Senna. This is something we've seen a lot from Defoe teams, is running these Senna lanes. Defoe really loves to sort of play lots of these like flexible, more team-oriented and unique comps. So I'm not shocked that this is something that they're going towards early on.
Yeah, that also makes it so that the Seraphine could still be flexible to the bot side. I don't know who they're gonna select. They do pick the Aurora. I don't know if that's going top or mid. I don't know if Defoe plays it in mid lane, considering it is a new champ.
And we'll
But
see.
how do you draft? What do Kernals do? I think at this point you pick your support, I think, thinking that it's a Seraphine Senna lane is my guess. Maybe a Thresh. Maybe you can pick the Blitzcrank here because it is 3 squishy, so Blitzcrank isn't the worst idea.
Yeah, and I mean, they could still... Okay, we're just going to lock in the Kane because of 3 squishies, right? Before that gets banned out.
Yeah.
Probably a good blue Kane game, I'd imagine. That's going to be really nice for Fallen. So the big thing here is that, yeah, everything except that Senna is still flexible. Senna locked to the bot lane, either in support or the carry fasting or farming position. But Aurora can go bot with Senna, can go mid, can go top. Seraphine can go mid, can go bot with Senna. Can also go top, but I highly doubt we're going to see that. That's much more of a counter pick, and very few people play it. So I'd imagine that we're not seeing anything too crazy. But I'd say I like this so far, what we're seeing. I would expect in these next couple sort of picks to see more frontline locked in for Kernals because they sort of have that Jinx Vigar setup. I'd expect to see probably a tankier support and a bruiser tankier top laner as well. Although they could opt into a sort of double bruiser, just hard and fast comp is definitely a possibility. I'd say a lot of peel, maybe a little bit of engage for Astronauts and try and use that range. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think you go a hard game here. If you can play Rel again, I think Rel's not too bad of idea. Maybe Leona, Alistar as well, although it might not be the best in lane. They do go for the hard engage with the Nautilus. And I think if you're the Astronauts here, you go for a tanky finish, assuming that Fallen is going to go for that blue cane. And if Senna is going to go bot lane here, they do want to tank if Seraphine is going mid. So maybe, I think Ornn Senna has been popular, Scion Senna has been popular. If they're going to go to that route, we'll see who they are selecting. No, it's going to be the Garen.
Okay, yeah, just gonna see that locked in immediately. This has been a pick that's been popping up more and more in recent years, just because it's been so prolific, even in pro now, realizing that you can just send this Garen to top lane, to mid lane, just run people down. He's actually a very good champion, clears waves very well, and we're gonna see the Evelynn locked in for Astronauts this round. Okay, that's interesting. So I think we're gonna have to wait until in-game drafts to see where everything's going. I'd imagine Evelynn in the jungle, Senna in the bot lane somewhere, but the rest of the picks are kind of up for grabs. Meanwhile, Kernals a bit more telegraphed. You kind of know that it's going to be that Jinx Nautilus, that Kayn jungle, that Vigar mid, and we'll see what they decide to answer in the top lane, because they can always just send Garen mid and chill it, and they're actually going to go for Kayle. So 3 of these super scaling hyper carries, a Kayn for the backline assassination, maybe we see red Kayn, but I doubt it, and a Nautilus engage, and yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think Astronauts have sort of won this draft pretty handily. I think it's gonna be really hard for Kernals to play this mid game. There's just so much scaling and not a lot of ways to get there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the winning lanes here. So I'm gonna assume that this is Kayle top, and I'm assuming Aurora is gonna go top. Which, I mean, honestly, Aurora or Garen, I think we'll have it easier. We'll have an easy lane in the early laning phase. Mid lane, I'm predicting the other will go against Veigar. I think Veigar does struggle against the Garen, if I'm not mistaken, right? If Veigar's cage is down, Garen is just free to like kind of queue in and and do his own thing. I'm not sure what the Evelynn Kayn matchup is like, but you're right. I think unless we know where all these champs are going, it's kind of hard to tell. how much breathing room the Kernels have, because you're right, they don't have a lot of early to mid game power. It's just a lot of hyperscaling.
Yeah. The biggest thing I think is going to be using that Nautilus and the Cane. Because if they don't have that Nautilus Cane getting ahead, I think you're just at risk of dying immediately and just getting burnt out before you even get to the mid game.
Yeah. But in all fairness, though, even on the I was about to call them Astralis, the astronaut side, they also kind of want to scale a little bit. I think with the Senna, with the Aurora, I'm not sure how much of a presence they are in the early game. Well, I take that back. I think Aurora is pretty strong early to mid game. Evelyn will be a little bit weak in the early game as well. So I'm expecting, in contrast to game one, there should be a slight slowness to the pace of the game two, but who knows? We're in Ruby, first week. I think everyone is like rearing to get kills.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely an option. I think a lot of people are going to be sort of aggressive, and I think the big thing about this week one is that players really want to sort of show themselves off, right? They want to be able to really stretch their skills and show off, especially on stream, right? They want to have narratives built about them. They obviously want to win, but I feel like there's a lot of style points for winning week one. So, but here we're just seeing this 3 hyperscale comp. I am a bit worried for the Kernels, but if they're able to pull this off, I think it can mean a very, very explosive mid and late game that's going to be extremely hard for the Astronauts comp to deal with.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just all about, can they slow it down and not force fights? Because I thought that was the game plan last game. And unfortunately, that's not what ended up happening.
Yeah. So for now, we are going to cut it to a quick break. When we come back, we will be in game for game 2. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody, and welcome into Game 2 for the Blue Otter Draft League Season 1 first series that we got. Currently, we have Astronauts up 1 game against the Kernals. Kernals picking a very interesting comp to try and fight back. A lot of scaling, a lot of carry potential if they can get there.
Yeah, and off the bat, we see an invade coming, and the astronauts actually positioning themselves, thinking that they would come from the bot lane, but they are coming from
Just
mid.
getting vision?
All, yeah, but they're walking back. Will they notice this? No, they will not. They will fall back.
All right, no fights. Both teams getting very close, but no invade quite yet. And it is going to be a bit more standard. You know, I was saying a lot of these positions are flexible, and they were, but we are going to see that Aurora mid, Garen top, Seraphine Senna bot lane as per usual, and it's going to be Fool on the Evelyn this time. Maybe he wants to show Fallen how it's done. Don't know if that's ideal, but you know, it is really good into the enemy comp, right? Of these 3 very hyperscaling squishies. And this is something to note. There has been a Vigar build popping up recently. Don't know if we'll see it. That goes Winter's Approach, which is the tank tier item. Relying more on that sort of passive scaling to get damage than anything. Meanwhile, gonna walk up into the bot lane. A little bit of a fight. Crab just getting a bit of damage there. Little trade onto Crab and Giggle though, and it was actually the astronauts seeming that they won that trade there. So really not that upset. And should be able to get relatively decent level 2 prio here. We'll have to see. Blue Man is going to use the heal on Billy Badass, actually, so don't know if they're going to be able to maintain that level 2 prio here. You can see Crab walking up. They will manage to get the level 2, but Billy Badass and Blue Man walking back. Just going to use the heals back up here. Giggle getting a lot of good damage, though, and the heal forced out from Blue Man early on.
Yeah, good trade there from Giggle and Crab. It did look a little dire for that level 1 trade because the minion wave was attacking them, but fortunately they were able to counter back and did take the heal away from the Senna. They do have to be a little careful though about this Evelyn, but they did have vision of them earlier, so they know. Oh, okay.
Nice snipe
Wow.
there from Billy Badass and Blue Man to take out Giggle before he can really react to anything. Not even a flash, not even a cleanse. Really great plays there from the Astronauts bot lane. And yeah, a lot of people think of the Seraphine Senna as a sort of hyperscaling do-nothing lane. It's not. They have a lot of damage early if you disrespect it, and really going to show just how insane it can be there. So really nice plays from that Astronauts bot lane early on. And don't forget, they do still scale quite well, so it is going to be a very rough early game there for the Kernals bot lane, already with a 500 gold advantage thanks to that early kill, assist, and farm in the bot side. Meanwhile, top side, Serdnos not doing a great job punishing Kaz early on, who's just been managing to actually be up in CS on this Kale, but we are going to see Fool pathing up, so we could see an early gank onto that Kale as this wave shoves back in.
Yeah, I think Kaz is gonna go for the, what's it called? The something where you go back and can walk back to lane, right? Because he must have known that Evelyn is walking top. Yep, he's electing to back here, and I think if you're Garen, you just keep the wave alive. Yep.
And they would have spotted Fool on that ward early on, going over by the Raptors, to know that she's pathing pop, right? Knows that Evelyn is going to be there if you're not careful. And it's actually going to be Fool being forced to back off. Fallen actually going for that little cheeky Raptors invade right there. Sees that the Evelyn isn't going to do anything, so just going to yoink that away and go for a gank in the mid lane. Defoe trying to get out, but it's going to be a really nice cage there from Greeno. The Q blocked by the minions, not going to be able to quite get it. Fallen forced to go out. The tower shots are very big, so I have to be very careful. Kaz forced to flash out in the top lane, or Serdnos would have run him down. Evelyn going to be spotting out pretty soon, their Krugs, and very shortly after the Stolen Raptors. Meanwhile, Fallen up quite a bit of CS now with that steal, going to be able to go back to his top side, farm that out back into a bot side path with a lot of early gold, which is very, very nice. You can see Crab looking for the engage. He's going to manage to find it onto Billy Badass, but the damage returned as well. Defoe backing off, going to be forced back as well. Lots of fighting early on, but only 1 kill so far. Both teams, I think, playing really well against the jungler's aggression, being very smart with how they played this out. Kaz especially, really knowing when to back up, just sit in XP range, play this Kale, use these Qs, use these Es just to farm out. get these fleet procs, and not risk dying to that Garen. We're going to see Fool start up this dragon early using that bot prio. Aurora has prio as well, so, you know, it can be pretty easy, I think, to grab this. Fallen, they know, is not back on the map just yet, so going to be having to farm out his camps before he can really get in on anything, but nothing to be had. It looks like a pretty easy dragon pickup for Astronauts.
Yeah, the Kernals need to play a little bit slower here. They're forcing a lot right now. Kaz had to burn the flash earlier because instead of letting Garen take the wave and manipulate the wave, he elected to stop the wave pause there, and that kind of costs his flash a level here. You have to be careful because this Garen does have ignite up, and so if I was the Kale, I would kind of want to reset this wave ASAP or call my jungler for help because it's not going to look really pretty for this kill at all. And I think it is resetting against her. So she'll just have to wait there while Astronauts do grab again and focus on the grubs.
Yeah, really great early play here from Astronauts all around the map. Just taking that dragon, transitioning it right into the Void Grubs, roaming that Senna up. Because this is what happens when you lock that Seraphine. Something that a lot of people who know about the Seraphine bot, who understand that this is kind of Seraphine's best role, once you get that Lost Chapter, and especially if you have the tier, you just kind of infinitely farm waves from a million range. There's really not, it's very similar to Ziggs, right? There's really not a lot to do. Meanwhile, on the top side, Kaz looking for that dive. Fool is here. The charm will land. Damage not quite going to be enough. Cerdnos with the execute will finish it off, but it won't be all that as the kill is picked up for Kaz, able to pick up that kill as well. Gonna miss a decent chunk of farm, but Reno is just going to TP to make sure that nothing is actually dropped in that top side. I assume Kaz going to run over to that mid lane to pick up anything that falls over there. And really nice plays there from the Kernals, right? Kaz being able to maintain that sort of even trade by picking up the return kill, and even Greeno TPing to the top side just to make sure that none of those minions get dropped either. They have spotted Fool in their jungle. Gonna have to be careful here. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Krabadab with the engage, forcing the flash out of Billy Badass so he doesn't walk in. But the cage onto the Fool. Greenho with the funny button. Lands that event horizon. Lands that ultimate. Gonna be able to take out Fool. Spotted out in the enemy jungle. Now down quite a bit of CS, quite a bit of XP, and dead as well. So Fallen gonna be trying to take over this sort of jungle portion of the game. Meanwhile, on the bot side, man, Crab just hook after hook after hook.
Yeah, I think Fallen there didn't really need to burn flash. I think he was a little trigger happy with trying to get the kill. But again, Crab engaging on this Senna this time. And wow, 2 consecutive burnt flashes on the bot side. Should signal this King to go bot. And fortunately for him, he is pathing towards there. And so Astronauts need to make a decision here whether for the Eve to stay around or for them to back off.
Yeah, another hook from Crab. A really nice ultimate there from Giggle. Not quite going to be able to finish off Blue Man. Now Crab forced into the 1v2, forced to flash over the wall to get out. But if Defoe is going to be able to find this, hops over the wall, does a little bit of hopping. One more Q will land, and Krabadabadoo goes down. Defoe picking up his first kill of the game.
Like I said earlier, Kernals really need to just slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good for a while, right? And if Giggle was able to get excited off that rocket, land that extra just little bit of damage, it would have looked so good, but not quite able to finish off Blue Man. He's able to get the heal, and that puts Krabadabadoo into a 1v2 situation. He has to force himself over the wall, but Defoe's able to just walk on down from that mid lane and pick up the kill.
Yeah, now things are going to get a little bit more difficult in bot lane. I think there was a scenario where they would stack this wave, push towards the turret, and then Kane comes in and they could really easily clean them up because this was pre-6, you know. But now that Senna has ult, Seraphine has ult, it's a little bit harder for them to engage. Kane is working on blue, so there's no real threat to this bot lane, so they kind of just freely farm. We do see in the mid lane, Veigar, I think, is building the Rod of Ages as a first item, which isn't a bad idea considering there's a lot of assassin threat in really the top side of the map. For the Winter's Approach build that you were talking about.
Hold on, there's a little bit of a fight in the bot side. A little bit of shielding coming out. Billy Badass with a nice charm onto 2, but the exhaust slows him down just enough, and Fallen will pick up the kill. And this is the strength of this early Kayn, right? Especially if you're able to get that blue form
Mhm.
online, you just do so much burst damage, right? People forget just how crazy Assassin Kayn is because of the dominance of Red Kayn for so long. But a really nice play there from Fallen in the top side. Meanwhile, in the top, Kaz running down
Oh.
Cernos, looking for a little bit more in the bot side. Fallen looking for Blue Man, but doesn't quite have the damage to get him. Cernos forced to flash out from Kaz, but Kaz flashing forward isn't able, cancels the movement of that R with his E, so has to be very careful with the auto, but the execute is not going to be enough. Fallen now going to fall to the Fool. Sorry, the Fool going to pick up Kaz. Fallen's actually in the mid lane looking for Defoe, who's going to try and use that ult to get out. Is able to use that
Wonderful.
ultimate. That was an amazing use of that parallel worlds right there. To be able to land that, get out of the cage, get out of danger there. Now it's going to be Fool in the mid lane, possibly looking for Greeno, flashing forward, looking for a little bit more, but they're going to be able to find the cage onto him. Fallen's still here, going to have to use that last rest to get out, but it's going to be Defoe chasing down Krabadabadoo, trying to find a little bit more damage, but he won't find that knockback E onto the damage for Crab. Crab's going to be able to walk it out to safety. Really beautiful play there from Defoe with that ultimate there to be able to get out of danger when it really looked like he should have been dead or at least had to blow the flash.
Yeah, but no, he just burns the ult and keeps the flash. And fortunately for the side of the Astronauts, they don't really lose much other than that. They actually get good resets here. Good to note though, for the side of Kernals, Fallen has the blue form, kind of like we predicted. But again, Astronauts forcing their control of these grubs, and it looks like they are about to grab two, unless Fallen, nope, does not steal it.
Yeah, really great there from Fool, able to get that quick objective. I will note, Fallen does now have that blue form online, so we'll see what he's able to do with it. Meanwhile, on the bot side, non-stop fighting once again. Giggle and Crab trying to run down Blue Man. Billy Badass has to try and tank at least a little bit for this Senna if he wants to be able to find it, but Giggle now is excited, immediately taken out by Defoe though, uses that TP, gets a quick little burst in. Now it's going to be Crab trying to buy a little bit of time, trying to find it out. The event prize is going to be enough to try and block it off. That cage lets Krabadabadoo get out, and the Encore won't be able to find him. A 1-for-1 in that bot side.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult at the moment for... I know Crab is forcing a lot and actually nabbing them with his anchor, but I don't think they have the damage yet to really contest the Senna and the Seraphine. And I think because they're also a little bit behind, I think they have to kind of pause on all this engagements. If anything, I feel like this Nautilus needs to mosey away to the mid lane or to the top lane and kind of help grab a lead there, because I don't think it's going to happen in the bot lane.
Yeah, and this is something that you have to look at, right? Both mid laners running these Rod of Ages. You can see the Seraphine already finished with that Archangels. So both teams have to be aware of the enemy team scaling and how that's going to be working for them. Meanwhile, Crab now possibly caught out, but a really nice double cage from Greeno onto the Fool. Now on the top side, Cernos trying to get that execute back in the mid lane. Defoe hopping back, trying to find a little bit, using that E knockback to maybe try and get over the wall. The ultimate from the Jinx is going to be enough to allow Fallen to finish him off with that W. Now back in the top side, Cernos trying to chase down Kaz, but Kaz kiting quite well. Does have that vision in the bush, has to be careful. Doesn't have the flash anymore. Can't really chase down Cernos. We're just going to run out of that bush. The classic Garen in the bush movement. But really nice cage there from Greeno. Catches both of the members of Astronauts who were tracing, keeps his support alive, and turns that fight completely on its head.
Yeah, it's like how we were drawing it up in the pre-draft. There's a lot of overconfidence coming from the side of Astronauts with that small lead that they have, and they did not account for the follow-up that was about to happen.
Yeah, and on the top side, Kaz possibly getting run down again. Cernos looking for a little bit more, but Kaz doing such a great job of spacing this Garen. And making sure that he's not just dying to random Garen running you down with movement, no flash, just walking at you, spacing with that heal, with that slow, with that extra speed from the fleet so well to keep himself alive, right? Like, this Kayle in this lane should have been punished a lot harder than she was.
Yeah, correct.
Also, all this time ago, you were asking something about their Winter's Approach build. What exactly was it?
I was asking when to build it. Like, is he building it now as a second item, or do you kind of wait till it's the third item?
Well, I'd imagine you wait until a second or third item. I think it's mostly dependent on how your tier's working.
Hmm.
But I see it more without the Rod of Ages, and we see the mana as well. I assume that's going to be going into a lost chapter, which does suggest that we're just going to go the standard Archangels builds.
Okay, that would make sense because I think Winter's Approach only has armor, right?
It does, it does. So not quite. Well, actually no, it doesn't have armor at all. Sorry, it's a pure HP item.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I think it's quite good here. But
Oh,
Fallen caught out. Gonna have to hop into Defoe with that Umbral Trespass. Maybe look over the wall. An amazing Q into the wall to try and get out with flash forward from Cernos with the funny button execute will be enough. The cage from Greeno to keep Defoe from chasing forward. Now Kaz looking for a little bit though, forced to flash away from the Fool. Now it's gonna be Cernos chasing forward. A little bit of a whiff from the Super Mega Death Rocket here, but the root from Blue Man, and that fight is still continuing. Krabadabadoo now getting chased down by 3. The cage is good from Greeno, knocks up the Fool, keeps him in at least, with the last caress to dodge out on both abilities there. Really nice plays, able to pick up Fallen, and this is what I was talking about, right? Both teams just getting a little bit too overconfident, stepping up a bit too far into the enemy side of the map, trying to swing themselves around and say, "Nah, I'm the man of the house. I'm big over here, right? I can be in your jungle. Nothing's gonna happen to me." And then immediately something happens to them.
yeah. And you can notice there too during that fight, there is no vision on the side of Kernals in that area, and so it does prove the point again. Overconfidence really hurting a lot of these teams. I think it's also important to note too, and as I say this, Kel could go down. Nope, teleport from Veigar.
Yeah, teleport from Veigar in there in the top side just to make sure that nothing funny is happening. Thought they might have gotten run down by the Garen, and I will note that Baron up soon. Herald is still up. Both teams could still fight over this, but I think really what we're going to see is this dragon fight, right? 45 seconds now to soul point for the Astronauts, and that Mountain Soul is going to be absolutely huge for the Astronauts, right? In my opinion, might be the best soul in the game. Just gives you so much extra armor and MR, gives you that extra shield, and if you're already ahead, that tankiness lets you push that advantage further. If you're behind, lets you stay alive in these fights. You know, you can make a case for Infernal or Hex Tech, but just such a good soul to have online, especially when you already have these sort of defensive ability haste and regen souls or dragons in the Ocean and the Chemtech. Now TP coming in, Fool maybe looking for something, but the collapse now from Kaz, looking for Blue Man, Billy Badass, and the Fool. They need to find a little bit of damage, but the Encore onto 3 is good. Defoe with an amazing divide between worlds. The cage is going to be a little bit, but it's not going to be quite enough. They are going to be able to take out that Kale now, who isn't able to survive. Krabadabadoo with the death charge onto 2, tries to find the knockup, now trying to run away. It's going to be Fool on the bad side to try and find a little bit more. Maybe he's going to be able to find Greeno. That he is, but it's going to be Fallen, decimating the backline of the Astronauts. Defoe not going to be able to find that 1v1 onto Giggle. Will go down in the process. Fool now trying to find Giggle, trying to find Fallen to maybe get something. Meanwhile, on the top side, Cernos didn't even show up to that fight. Has the Ignite instead of the TP. Wasn't going to TP down there. So I'd say all in all, a 2 for 3 and delaying that dragon is in favor of the Astronauts because they're able to get that top tower. They're able to get all this gold on Cernos, who next time he shows up to a fight is going to be quite large.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets this Evelyn over here. Oh, no, not in time. They should go for the
Barely.
dragon. I think they're just looking for farm on the side of Fallen. Garen is about to grab mid, I think. Unless they can respond, but the Void grabs are a little bit too strong.
Yeah, and Cernos in the mid lane might have been getting caught here. Is going to be getting caged up by Veigar, but will find the tower for his troubles. That being said, that's probably a dragon for the Kernals without that Garen. With all that extra priority, I highly doubt that Astronauts are going to be able to find this dragon. They might be able to look for a steal with Fool over the wall and that last crest, but without any blast cone up, without any flash, it's going to be very, very hard. And this is something I would like to note, right, as well. Without any ultimates, Kernals just will always have the better team fight. Without that between worlds, without that charm, without that encore, it's really hard for you to get in. So that's just going to be the Astronauts giving over that dragon. Not on soul point, sadly. Not on soul. They aren't able to pick that up. So they have to be a lot more careful, right? Because all the scaling that we were talking about for the Kernals has started to come online. We're now 20 minutes into the game. They're actually up a little bit of gold, not by much. Tread's only about 100, right? Could be going anywhere realistically. Now Defoe trapped in that cage, though. They're just going to focus down the tower first. trying to use that
Ooh.
between worlds to get out, and he might be able to do it, but if Fallen's able to land something, the rocket should spot him out. Blue Man here now finally with the rest of his team, but the engage now from Fallen, the engage from Crab, the hook lands, now Fool trapped in a cage. On the backside, Fallen picks up one, Cernos picks up the trade, 1-for-1 so far. Now Greeno uses the Kale ultimate to have him survive, but Cernos takes out the Demacian Justice onto Kaz, trying to use the cage now. Greeno looking out. Giggle going forward with those rockets. It's still Fool and Billy Badass on the backside if they're able to pick out any type of assassination, but Cernos behind enemy lines. The Kane through the wall, going to be able to pick up that kill. Billy Badass maybe searching for Greeno, but he won't be able to find it. Another one fight for the Kernals.
Yeah, I think the weaknesses of Astronauts' comp is coming to life. With the Blue Kane coming out, we were talking about how squishy the champions were that Astronauts had selected. They went for the Garen, which is slightly tanky, but they also went for the Evelyn. And you could kind of see there, without a true tank supporting the carries, they get blown up rather easily by this Kane. And I think the Kane does it much faster than any of the assassins on the Astronauts' side. So I think this might be the first bigger lead that the Kernals have had. I don't know if they've ever been more than a K in in the lead. I might be wrong here,
Yeah.
but I think if you're an
Yeah.
Astronauts' seat, like, what do you do at this point?
Yeah, I mean, you're a little bit over 1,000, right, for the Kernals. Should even itself up to about 1,000 relatively soon. But yeah, like you were saying, Fool Charm takes a while to ramp up. Speaking of the Fool, getting caught out, making a fool of himself there. Fallen absolutely one-shotting him now. Crab with the death charge onto Blue Man. Fallen keeps chasing out the Encore onto 2. Might be able to buy time, but the Umbral Trespass onto Blue Man. Dodging out on that route. Gonna be able to find them, and the damage is good. 9-1-4 now on this Kin. It is so hard to play against this without any real front line, without the ability to dodge out, right? This Kane's such a good pick here. Just being able to run down anyone the second they're found out. And like we were saying, the Fool, it takes a while to ramp up that damage, to get that charm all charged up, but Fallen doesn't have that same issue, right? He gets damage, bonus damage, just for showing up and starting off the fight from that opportunity, from that passive. He's just able to take out anyone that he wants just by looking at them. Now you can see the damage coming through. Defoe trying to use that between worlds to find a little bit of damage. Cernos over the wall is able to find the Crab-a-dab-a-doo, able to find that Nautilus. Greeno forced to back up, Fallen on the side, looking for someone. Greeno uses another cage. Giggle trying to kite this out, but it's really hard, especially when you get slowed up by the Seraphine like that. The damage coming out. Defoe looking for a little bit more. Giggle, with that fancy footwork, is able to dodge a lot, but he's not able to dodge it all. It's going to be Aurora picking up the kill, and Fallen's actually able to pick up that Garen. Goes into the wall, and the Ignite will just barely not tick him down. Fallen makes it out with his life and the Baron.
Yeah, we saw the Kale earlier on burn her teleport to react to the Garen split pushing bot. But seeing that teleport, the Garen made the wise decision to go join his team and trying to go against the Kernals at Baron. And that kind of cost a lot of lives there. I think there was a little bit of a miscoordination there and conversation because they didn't take Baron too quickly. I think only Jinx does a lot of damage to the Baron, and even then it's not as much because she doesn't have any percent damage in her build. But still, a securing Baron is a big win for the Kernals.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say a big win for the Kernals here. Also, that they're going to have this fight for the dragon come up in another 30 seconds, right? They have the advantage, but Crab, don't go in there. Ooh, and just a little bit too early there. Crab goes for the ward, but a little bit early there. They don't let Fool get that charm quite down. They don't let Blue Man get his root. They should have let him walk in just a little bit further because he's able to just use that dredge line to hit the wall and try and get out here. Now in the mid lane, Defoe maybe looking for between worlds, trying to catch something out, but now Defoe caught in the cage. Blue Man caught in the cage. The death charge goes out, and now they're all on the run. Fallen, 2 in the backside, and Billy Badass and Blue Man will be nothing compared to this Kane, and that might just be the game. You have Defoe and Cernos left to defend. Cernos in the top side, but Kaz is answering there. You have the wave, you have that cannon minion here, and it's going to be Fallen actually just taking up that dragon. This should at least be an inhibitor, but if Giggle gets excited, if they're able to find Defoe especially, can be very, very dangerous here. Greeno with one good cage could do it as well. Defoe barely has that flash up, but doesn't have the Between Worlds to try and take this out anymore. And it looks like they're just going to go for that inhibitor and be happy with it. Baron up in another 3 minutes, but it's very rough here. You're going to have Fallen just taking everything from you in your jungle. You're going to have Kaz taking everything in a side lane. And it is so hard to try and fight your way back into this game at this point when all of these super hard hyperscaling carries have all scaled to their points.
Yeah, I think this is, at this point, the Kernals' game to lose. Especially for Fallen, as he does have his fourth item available. As I say, this Kale is going to use her ultimate to almost kill the Garen, but she does elect to move away Evelyn fast on her tracks. Will she get caught?
See, Crab looking for something. Fool is spotted out. Crab trying to chase something down, maybe find this for Fallen, but not going to be able to look for it. Fallen now looking for that top side. And Fallen with the kill onto Cernos. One more auto. Nope, gonna use the smite. Gonna use the smite secure, acting like he's just another camp. Now the Umbral Trespass onto the Fool, though. Barely waits out the charm. Is not going to be able to land, but now engaged from Defoe. Using that Between Worlds, they might be able to find it. And a huge shutdown for the Fool onto Fallen. Now Krabadabadoo forced out. They're not able to find that route onto him. The Dredge line out to safety. But this will be Fallen's second death of the game, going over to the Fool, who's hopefully going to be able to pick up the Rabadons off that. And with that Rabadons, hopefully going to be able to assassinate Giggle or Kaz or one of the backliners. But it's really rough because every time you try and assassinate, every one of these teamfights, the Kale has sort of been playing a bit of a supportive damage role, similar to something like maybe a damage Senna in the backline, where Kale's actually just able to use her ult onto anyone who gets tagged by Fool and stop them from being one-shot, and then is able to just pump out a ton of damage without any real threat onto her in the backline. So very, very hard to play around that Celestial opposition from Kaz. And especially when you have things like Fallen and Crab able to threaten your backline so well, it's really hard when you can't get your own dive off to actually be able to play this front to back, to be able to play this dive, to be able to play any form of team fight, really. You just kind of have to hope you get a bush cheese off or you get a pick early on, or that someone from Kernals overextends, right? Like you said, this is really Kernals' game to lose.
Yeah, and as we say, this Kane again going for the Garen.
Yeah, and Garen might be one of the few people who's actually able to finish off Fallen. Gets a lot of true damage down, but Kaz is here to shore up the rest of that damage. Fallen out with the Umbral Trespass. Meanwhile, Cerno's chasing down. A flash forward from Fallen and a fadeaway W there is beautiful to pick up the kill.
Yeah, I don't know if I approve of that. I think getting the Garen flash is already big, because as you were mentioning earlier, this kill was acting as a supporting role, not only for an Evelyn assassin, but really even for a Garen assassin, right? They typically are on the opposite sides of the fight, and so being able to kill one means Kale will stop the damage coming from the other.
Yeah, now the Fool looking for Kaz, lands the charm, but not going to be quite able to get any of it, especially with Kaz still having that ultimate up. And yeah, like you said, I don't know how I feel about the flash. I feel like, realistically, even if you do get the kill, it's really worth losing your flash. Like, it's so insane to say, but like, if you're Fallen, I think your flash is genuinely worth more than a kill there, right? I think your flash is worth significantly more than maybe even 2 kills before an objective, but now an objective is spawned. It's that Baron. Giggle with the ultimate, trying to find some damage onto Blue Man, but he'll go out. Now getting excited, Billy Badass caught in the middle of 3, and it's going to be Greeno picking up the double. Defoe now forced out, but it's going to be Kaz to pick that one up. Now Fallen onto the Fool, going forward into that Umbral Trespass. Use that kill ultimate as well, just to buy a little bit of extra time, and the fadeaway W will take him out right through the Blast Cone. Krabadabadoo chasing down Cernos, looking for a little bit of more. The Dredge line will land. Kaz flashing forward, looking for more damage, and it's going to be the clean ace 5-0 for the Kernals, and completely turning around what we saw in game 1. A dominant win there, right? Looked a little bit risky in that early game, but once the mid game came and those hyper carriers were scaled, the Kernals had really no way to lose. Amazing play from there, and they'll take us to a game 3.
Yeah, I guess the answer there was the flash didn't matter, clearly. What did matter, though, was, again, I think we're hammering this topic a lot, but look at that map where they were fighting. Do you see any vision from the side of the astronauts? The answer is no. They keep engaging on these fights, having these fights, thinking that they're confident where their positioning is, but they have no vision. Especially when they're going against a Kayn that kind of can go through walls. It's really, really important to establish that vision before going into and clearing vision. And unfortunately for them, one pick led to the other. We did see in that last fight, Defoe using Zanya's, but unfortunately it made Senna get hit by the dredge line, and then Dominoes fell, and it was over in an instant.
Yeah, and I would say, at the end there, we do hammer home this overconfidence, no vision point, but like at that point, I think you just kind of have to go for it, right? But it was very indicative of how the rest of the game has gone, right? Overconfidence, no vision, pushing forward fights that you just don't have to take, right? Like you want to push out this early lead, and this is the big thing I think with the Fool on Evelyn, definitely not showing Fall on how it was done, not able to get those early picks like you'd want. Not able to punish the Kale like you would want, the Jinx like you would want, the Vigar like you would want. And it was really just a very rough game in total, just for everyone, I think, on the Astronauts to be able to do anything. So we are now 1-1. Little bit of a scoring error there. It's not 0-1. It is 1-1. We will be going to a game 3. When we come back, don't go anywhere.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Oh, no, you can go for it, sir.
I was about to say, welcome back, everybody, for Game 3 of our first series of the Season 2 of the Blue Water Draft League. We have the Kernals versus the Astronauts, both very interesting teams if you have not caught the first two games, both very interesting drafts if you have not caught the first two games, and some very hype games if you have not caught the first two games. Going into this, like we've been saying, lots of teams, both of them, lots of confidence, sometimes paying off, sometimes not. The Kernals last game drafting 4 hypercarries in three hypercarries and a Kane. Drafting Blue Kane, Kale, Jinx, and Vigar all on the same team, and somehow winning with it. So very interesting to watch there. Now, we're going to see the Astronauts try and adapt to that. And the Kernals actually go for a bit of a different game plan, it looks like, locking in the Seraphine first, try and maybe take it away from someone like Defoe. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Ziggs and the Renata Glask, actually, locked in blind for the Astronauts.
Yeah, so looking at the bans, it was the same bans as last game. Do note that they have switched sides. Astronauts have elected to go red, but they did ban the Kane. In response, they are prioritizing that Seraphine. The Renata pick, I think, is a little bad. It's way too early. I think the Rel, earlier it was Rel. I think Rel was fine, considering it was blind. But Renata, without knowing what kind of comp they want to bring to the table, is interesting. This does leave Viego behind. It was banned the first 2 games. It seems like they're scared of Fallen's Viego. We'll see if he picks it here. And maybe that's why they picked the Renata, right? Because I think Viego doesn't do really well against Renata Glass. Can't get that reset. And so instead we see Kernals going for the Tom Kench.
Yeah, Kernal's going to go for that Tom Kench instead. Going for Dr. Mundo as well. So that could be a Mundo jungle or top, could be a Tom Kench top or support. So a bit of flexibility there right now. Do you like to see that though, especially into the Renata, right? One of the big ways to beat Renata is to just run at her with CC immunity. So by doing that, locking that Mundo is going to be very useful. And we're just going to answer back with the Trundle, right? You pick 2 big balls of health that don't have a lot of mobility. We're just going to lock the Trundle and hit you in the face slot.
Yeah,
very.
I'm assuming this trend is a response to a Mundo top and a Tom Kench top, considering Trundle is good against both. I don't know if that's gonna make Kernals do something funny in terms of role assignments. Like, is there a world where Mundo goes bot with Seraphine and Tom Kench goes? No, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more risky there, but there's a world where like Seraphine, Tom Kench go bot lane. You have the Mundo top lane. There's maybe like a Mundo jungle as well, but yeah, it's a little complicated, I think, especially because Trundle can flex top or jungle, right? So it doesn't matter where you send this Mundo, he's gonna get beat up on by that Trundle unless you go for a crazy Mundo mid pick, right? And then hope that they can't do that.
Yeah, we do have confirmation that Miss ban was Udyr. It was an Udyr ban. So trying to clog up the draft pool of the Fool. And we do see another jungle ban in the Zinzao. And I'm going to guess another jungle ban to clog up the pool. And it is going to be that Bel'Veth.
It will be okay, so it will be the Bel'Veth again, so they don't want to see that. Knowing just how crazy that can be, they don't want to take any big risk there, so not too shocked there.
Yeah, I think at this point you go for the mid lane pick, right? I think jungle has been heavily prioritized. You're trying to give counter, and I think with Defoe's Trample, there are a couple of good picks. You can go blind. I think he could go Brand again, but he is going Ziggs bot. Will we see the ADC here and the Ziggs mid instead? Yeah, I guess we do see the Brand mid.
It is going to be the Brand mid. Okay, so double AP here could be a bit risky, but right, what we see here is that we have the Trundle sort of trying to deal with those tanks and carries. So lots of MR scaling. I assume here we do see either an AD top lane or an AD carry jungler. So we'll have to see. The Kindred taken out, so it might be something a bit more like the Viego that we've seen a bit. So
maybe the Kazakhs. I think you go assassin again, right?
It could be an option. It's rough.
Yeah. And we're trying to get verification here on what that mispick was. And it is... We still don't know. Give us 1 second. Hecarim.
Hecarim,
Okay.
okay. So the Hecarim, and it looks like the Jinx locked in. So it looks like it will be that Seraphine mid. Tom Ken's Jinx bot. Mundo top lane. I'd imagine that's sort of where that role distribution is going to go. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bit of aggression, bit of engage, and some extra damage on that Jinx, just to make sure you have that backline. Really nice, well-rounded comp here from the Kernals, and we'll see what the Astronauts end up going for. Try and answer this out. Gonna be the Volibear, it looks like? Okay, so Trundle and Volibear could both switch roles, so we'll have to see what that ends up being, but I definitely prefer the Kernals comp, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay. Why?
I think that the ability to run with this sort of double carry Seraphine Jinx, use the Seraphine's shielding with, combined like Mundo, you have Kent, you have Hecarim running in is going to be a lot more valuable. And I think the ability for some of these tanks, even the Hecarim, right, to maybe go into a maul to get a lot of that MR is going to be really hard for Zinx and Brand to deal with, right? They have a lot of range, they have a lot of burn, sure, but if you just stack a bunch of MR on one tank, it's going to be really hard for anyone except Trundle. Even Volibear doesn't cut through health that well, even if it is full MR, right? So it's going to be really reliant on Trundle to do that, and Trundle's going to have a really hard time, against something like a Jinx Seraphine if you can't cut through that front line. So I think that Kernals just have a better overall chance.
Yeah, I'm a little split. Because the Astronauts do have answers to the comp that the Kernals are running. There's a lot of big max health boys on the side of Kernals. Trundle, passive, Liandry's. I'm going to assume Ziggs is going to also go Liandry's. But you do make a good point. They could just stack MR. There's not really big 80 threats. Trundle also does a lot of percent damage. I'm not sure what kind of damage Volibear does. So I guess it comes down to how they play their fights. If we go back to game 1, where it's a lot of grouping and team fights, then I think Astralis might actually have a... sorry, I keep saying Astralis. The Astronauts might have a good chance of turning the tide rather easily. But on the flip side, like if you look at like the sequence of events that could happen, right? We see Hecarim charging in, and because Hecarim's charging in, Renata decides to ult. Because Renata decides to ult, Seraphine decides to ult. Seraphine decides to ult, Trundle will ult, and Volibear will ult, Brand will ult, and Ziggs will ult. And because they ulted, Tamkach is going to swallow someone, and Dr. Mundo is going to ult. And so there's just a lot of variables that's happening, and I don't know what orders it's going to happen. So it really depends on how this team fight plays.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one. I think a lot of this is going to come down to how these team fights play out. So we'll have to see how this ends up working for them. I'd like to imagine that we end up seeing something like, a big front to back from the Kernals, and for the Astronauts, I was about to say Straw, that same thing. I'd imagine that Astronauts want to use that Ziggs range to try and get people low in tanky range, and then try and use Trundle and Brand and that consistent damage to just try and melt through them as soon as the fight starts, before they really have a chance to get that crazy engage off, right? And just use Renata to buy as much time as they can.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think, again, I think from the previous game, and really game 1 as well, vision will be key. Whoever can establish vision and knows how to fight around the vision, it'll help a lot, because both of these teams need kind of a big setup when looking at these big fights. And so we'll see if any of these teams will adapt to that, or will they get a little trigger heavy there and kind of fat finger an ultimate or go in for a kill.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. We're just doing a whole lot of speculating, not a whole lot of game watching. So for right now, we're going to cut it to a short break. When we come back, we will be in game for Game 3, the final game of our series for the first week of this draft league. Don't go anywhere. We'll be here when you get back.
Will you follow me tonight to break their spine and reclaim what once was mine? Those cravers.
Thank you for waiting. Welcome back to week 1 of the second draft season of BOL. We are in game 3 of this riveting series between the Kernals and the Astronauts. For the first time in this series, we are going to have standard 5-point formations on both teams. Tom Kench is a little late to the party though, so really it's a 5 and 4 point, and vision being secured in the jungle area.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on right now, it seems like, but, you know, that's fine. Both games, I think, got off super explosive starts for the rest of them, so I think toning it back down just a little bit, I think, is fine for a lot of people. Chilling out, don't want to risk anything, especially in this game 3, right? Especially week 1, how close these games have been. You really feel like the series could go to anyone, and I don't think either team wants to really risk it on an early play when they both feel like it's very winnable for them if they just keep doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think game 1 jitters, it makes everyone want to get kills early on, but now that we're in game 3, muscles are warmed up. I think everyone is going to be playing a little bit slower this time. And we'll see how this bot lane goes with the Ziggs matching up against the Jinx. I'm not quite sure what the matchup is like between those roles, but I would assume it is favored towards the side of the Ziggs.
Yeah, I would imagine so. The big thing here is especially like Ziggs has a lot of range, has a lot of this potential early. But you have to be careful because if you get caught by that Tom Kench knockup, Renata can kill you from the Kench, but Gale's gonna be doing a ton of damage on that Jinx. With all that extra range provided to her by that engage, so you have to be a bit careful. And ooh boy, another pause. Really sorry about this, guys. There's been a couple disconnection issues that we're trying to get sorted out. So when all those happen, we'll be resuming game. This has just been happening a bit. I don't know in particular which player it is. I think it might be multiple, but hopefully we can get back in the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, as we're waiting, we can look at the summer spells and the keystone runes here as well. I was gonna say lane matchups are as we predicted. Trundle, Mundo top, both actually running the teleport ghost, and we also see Hecarim running the ghost. But on the other side, we do see the double lethal temples from the top side of the astronaut side. I don't think is a standard and might be compensation considering mid and bot are both going AP.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised just how much AP we were seeing on the astronauts comp, but I think the big one here is that you really need Surdnos to sort of get that lead so that he's able to cut through those tanks, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Defoe and Billy Badass should be able to relatively, right? Especially with these fill burn items that are so strong nowadays. But without Surdnos, I think it can be a lot more difficult. And I think you can get really punished for drafting like this if Surdnos gets put too far behind and you're not able to find a significantly lead elsewhere on the map.
Is the grasp on Tom Kench a thing? Is that a thing for support players?
Yeah, it's because you end up going in a lot of the time, you end up walking up so much because of your
Gotcha.
Q slow, you just end up hitting people with grasp a lot. It's
Okay.
fairly standard. I don't know if Guardian is that great here into the enemy comp, so I'm not
Yeah,
too
that's
shocked to see
fair.
it.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that it would go grasp if the support was also melee. I feel like you're not going to get too much off the laning phase, but I can definitely see that in the middle to late game during a lot of these skirmishes.
Definitely. I think the big one here, the big lane to look at is obviously top lane, right? And Cernos getting ahead.
Yeah.
But I also think you need to keep in mind that mid lane, Defoe back on that brand, that we've seen so much of him on, it can be really strong and really devastating if they don't manage that properly. Because, you know, as much as you could stack MR, if Brain gets fed, the MR is only going to do so much against all the burn coming through. So,
Oh yeah,
has to be relatively careful.
I forget that it's a mirror matchup. Like this, it's the same level game 1 matchup, and what surprised us from that game 1 was Brand got a solo kill at like around this time, right? Like it was really fast when the brand got the solo kill. But it seems like Seraphine is already level 2 and shouldn't be heading towards that fate again. So you're right. I think the foe is also the solo laners will definitely be on the watch list here.
For right now, we do not have a current update on the players. We'll be trying to get this as soon as possible. Hopefully we unpause soon. I'm gonna say this and then we're immediately gonna unpause. But for right now, we're gonna cut it to a short break. Don't go anywhere while we get this issue resolved. When we come back, we will be right back in the game for hopefully another banger.
Crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Yeah. 7,000 souls scared and daunted. Such a tale of woe. Not too long ago, this village was a golden scene of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Yeah, bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Yeah. I am the light bringer. Now listen, fellow warriors, I ask you, should my campaign come to an end? There's way more to avenge. Whoa! 50 million souls live in this realm without much hope. Not too long ago, this kingdom was a golden state of hope. Yeah! Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Yeah. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Call down the reckoning, bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Unfortunately, due to, as some of you may know, hurricanes going on and those incidents, Giggle, our captain for Kernals, is unfortunately unable to play the game. Has lots of issues going on right now, so we are being subbed out, and we are going to continue with the same draft that we had beforehand. Everything should be relatively similar aside from that unfortunate loss. But hopefully we are getting into this quick and we can get everything sorted. Thank you for hanging around, not giving up on us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the game.
Yep. So same picks. We're having the 5-point start. I guess Kernels really agreed to it being the same because they, I think, put the same ward up in the chickens. And we also see a blue ward down to the other entrance as well. But we'll see if there's any differences in how they engage. I think Trundle was pushing a little harder, as well as bot lane getting some good trades on the side of astronauts, and we'll see if that is duplicated here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is one of the big things to note, which is that we sort of expected to see both teams a little bit unfortunate, but kind of burned from what had happened. So both teams are going to be a little bit more chill. I think a little bit, after all this has happened, we have to reset our mentals. We've just taken a big break. It's not as crazy as the game 2 to game 3. So I expect to see a relatively slow early game from both teams as we try and sort of readjust.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see here at bot lane, it is the Jinx and the Tomcat going for an early lead, level 2.
Yeah, looking to try and push this, see if they can get it, but don't know. The big thing here is that, like, getting this damage is good, but you also have to keep in mind, right? If you get too baited in, Renata always has that potential to extend that lifespan in a close fight, and do a lot of damage, a lot more than you were expecting, right? When you get someone who you thought you killed, you got the reset, maybe they get excited, now suddenly they're not. Now you're under tower, pushed up a bit too far, so you do have to be a bit careful and sort of keep that in mind, especially when you're playing against the Ziggs as well, who can sort of knock you back, and they can sort of chain that Renata pull into a Zig Satchel or a Zig Satchel into a Renata pull and get you a lot further displaced than you had originally thought.
Yeah, it looks like the solo laners are pretty even and with lots of health. And so it's probably be here the bot lane where we'll see the first interaction between the junglers, unless this Volibear here kind of decides to gank the Doctor window, but he might just be going towards the little scuttler.
Yeah. And interesting to note, the only real difference is that previously Fallen had been pathing topside, now Fallen is pathing bot lane. I'd imagine not too big of a difference, but we'll see. It might be a difference now as Fallen heads towards bot lane, and this is what we're talking about, that get excited, not going to quite be able to get it on the first, but manages to pick up Billy Badass, the res, not enough, almost picks up Blue Man as well. As what we're talking about, right, if that Renata W had not extended the fight, it probably would have been a double, now only a single. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Defoe and Fool trying to trade back onto Fallen. They're able to find it. Fool with a nice little Triumph proc stays alive. Now Greeno getting run down by Fallen, who did binge to pick up those double buffs. Has to be careful, though. Habadabadoo running on up as that Tom Kench, seeing if he can maybe get a roam off, but both teams just going to back off there. A 1-for-1 trade across the map. Early kill onto Defoe, but an early kill onto Tyler Durden, who is our replacement for Giggle. So clearly filling those shoes quite well.
Yeah, and like exactly the same thing that happened in game 1. Brand gets the double buffs, and so it's going to be a hard lane for the Seraphine. As we see the Trundle also low on mana. Good to note that the Mundo did teleport and has gotten his item, which is going to be the Call.
Yeah, and this is where we were talking about that pull into Satchel charge. Completely deadly under tower. Taking 3 tower shots there at level 3 is a death sentence.
Good comeback there from the side of Jinx. I mean, of Ziggs and the Renata. This Trundle, I think, is... I wouldn't say greed, but it's trying to finish the wave before backing. And I think if I was Kaz, I would try to poke out with the cleavers. I missed.
Yeah. So And yeah, that's a big thing, right? That again, like we were talking about, you have to be really careful into the Ziggs Renata of just catching a lot of damage, catching a lot of displacement that you weren't quite ready for. Fool and Fallen both running after each other, but Fallen's move speed just a little bit better than the Volibears. So
Yeah,
gonna be
the Jinx with her kill gold decided to get the upgraded boots. I don't think that's gonna be too strong in the laning phase. But to be fair, the Ziggs also just got a tier instead of more AP.
yeah, so real quick, I'll touch on that in a minute, but we do have a fight in the top side. Surdnos popping the ult, Kaz popping the ult as well. Both of the ghost pops trying to run down Kaz, gonna be able to get a lot of damage, but not quite finish him off, and Kaz gonna be able to use that maximum dosage to just heal up really quickly. And yeah, like we were saying, really good plays from the Trundle, but has to be careful because you can't run down too much. You get a little bit of extra move speed. Meanwhile, on the bot side, we do have a gank from Fallen onto Billy Badass and Blue Man. Blue Man getting run down by Fallen and Tyler Durden now. Needs a little bit more, and it's going to be Fallen picking up the kill. Billy Badass running under the tower to try and give that support a kill rather than give it over to the Jinx. A nice little double there for the Kernals.
Yeah, a little too aggressive there. They only had a ward in their Pixel Brush and nothing else. You kind of have to realize that Fallen is probably bot side, considering Volibear was top and was hovering around the area. So the only place Hecarim could have been was mid or bot. Wasn't mid, so definitely bot.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there, but I will say this is sort of what I was about to talk about, right? The Jinx with the boots, really good in the fights and the sort of skirmishes and extended trades. Not as great in those short trades, which is what Ziggs wants to do, right? Bomb, walk away, use that tier, right? So you're not getting quite as much damage on the Jinx as going like a lot of AD and getting big rockets, but like we saw there, in those extended fights, being able to get all those extra autos, being able to stack up that lethal tempo a lot faster, especially getting that extra damage from the maximum stacks, getting that on attack effect, getting all that extra range is really, really helpful. And we do see the Jinx now going for that Heartbound axe, so not going for that new collector build, instead just going to go for the Kraken Slayer, go for a bit more of the classic as they take these resets. And you can see the Tom Kench as well also going for that Heartsteel, so trying to get a little bit of extra power in that support role, get a little bit of extra snowballing going. Meanwhile, in the topside jungle, got a little bit of fight, but bot side might be a little bit doomed. Billy Badass jumped on by Krabadabadoo. Now uses the Satchel Charge to try and get out, but stunned up with those maximum stacks. Tyler Durden needs to get that Super Mega Death Rocket off. He will. The Krabadabadoo is going to be the one picking up the kill. Super Mega Death Rocket, just a little bit of extra damage. Meanwhile, topside, it's going to be Kaz actually slaying Surdnos, and Tyler Durden picking up another kill, the double in the bot side. A little bit of a turn up there that we weren't expecting to see from Kaz, right? That Trundle sort of should be winning those fights. Meanwhile, now the Fool is up here. Kaz does not have an ultimate anymore. Does have to be careful. Fool does have ultimate. Now Kaz popping a little bit of healing, but it's not quite going to be enough. Fool trading the 1-for-1 back in the top side. Still, Kernals coming out on top.
Yeah, I was going to say, what a beautiful fight it was down there. I think they did wait for the Renata W to wear off on Ziggs in order to get the kill. But unfortunately, at that point, I think Jinx was a little bit too low. And the kill had to go over the Tompkins.
Yeah. And something to note here, you're not sad about Tahm Kench getting these early kills, because the faster you get that Heartsteel, the faster you can really start stacking all of those crazy HP values, getting the scaling, getting extra shields, getting a lot of health, and being able to tank for your team, right? So it really isn't the end of the world.
No. Especially in the laning phase. I mean, it's still slightly in the laning phase. Oh, no. Oh, astronauts,
that's not looking good. Astronauts, guys, you cannot keep walking up like this. Billy Badass jumped on. Tyler Durden picks up a kill, gets excited, trying to chase down that Renata, but she is already gone. Realized that there's no hope for Billy Badass there. And yeah, that's what we were talking about, right? The Ziggs has such potential to just sit back, farm, clear waves infinitely, and never have to worry, but keeps walking up, keeps trying to get this damage and pushing in, and you just have to play a lot safer right now, given that Jinx is already 3-0-3. Right, and the Tahm Kench is one of those tanks that you don't want getting ahead. Now on the bot side, we do have Blue Man popping that ultimate, trying to get a little bit of damage down, but the res not going to pop in time. Now Tyler Durden is excited, able to dodge out on a lot of this damage, flashes back over the wall, to dodge out on the damage from the Fool. Defoe backing up the Satchel Charge to try and save him. The slows are good, but it's not going to be quite enough as Defoe goes down. Fool and Billy Badass trying to chase something down. Tyler Durden, 1 HP, and it's going to be the shutdown from Billy Badass. You can see now Greeno walking down to maybe catch these people off, maybe trade a little bit of something back. Billy Badass keeps chasing in to try and find something. Meanwhile, on the top side, Kaz and Surdenos will not stop fighting, just hitting each other in the face over and over again. But the ghost popped means that there won't be any kills coming through. 2 for 0 in favor, sorry, 2 for 1 in favor of the Kernals, but might not be done. Fallen going forward, and the flash forward from Krabadabadoo lands that hard steal. Going to be able to take out Blue Man. Is he able to? They are going to be able to get that res timer going, but it won't quite be enough as Ziggs is not able to get the kill. Surdenos went for a tower dive?
Yeah, I think it was just for the plate at that
Mundo?
point.
Yeah, but he was tanking the aggro, so clearly he did actually auto Kaz. Probably should not have done that, and will go down on the top side. Now you can see the Kernals very far ahead.
I bet you that Trundle tried to pillar, and that does 1 damage.
Oh, you know what? That's probably the play. Meanwhile, now in the mid lane, Fallen trying to chase down Defoe. Defoe getting a lot of damage onto him, and the Super Mega Death Rocket from Tyler Durden actually is the one that takes up the kill. Now excited, trying to kite back the Fool. Fallen completely out now, but the Chompers will manage to land onto Fool. CC chaining him to hell and back, and it's going to be Tyler Durden picking up his 5th kill of the game. 5 assists. This Jinx has 10 KP, the most in the entire game, and is dominating so far. Krabadabadoo just trading a little bit onto Billy Badass, but not able to get anything too crazy. But yeah, it's really rough. You already have Fallen on that Spear of Shojin. You have both of their tanks hyper scaling when you're already running not a lot of AD, not a lot of ways to melt those tanks. And their main carry in the backline in that Jinx in Tyler Durden is already 5, 1, and 5. Gonna be building a 2nd item, right? Billy Badass barely just finished his 1st.
Yeah, things are not looking good for the Astronauts. I mean, they still have outs depending on how they play, but again, here we have Blue Man caught out, Fallen.
Well, maybe not caught out. Maybe it's Fallen who's actually the one that's caught. Wow. Blue Man with a really nice bait. Fool goes in, and they are able to get the shutdown onto Surdenos, who's building into that Bork, and I think that's extremely useful given the current situation. You kind of need Surdenos to start getting gold. You need Defoe to start getting gold. Billy Badass is already behind. He just needs to farm, and kills on him at this point probably aren't worth as much as they are on someone like Surdenos, on someone like Defoe.
Yeah, and it's big too. Again, 3rd straight game in a row where the Astronauts get, I think, all 6 grubs again, and that's very, very helpful, as we'll see this Trundle pretty much split pushing the entire game.
Yeah, and you can see this now, right? The Trundle going for the Bork doesn't have it yet, so it does have to be a bit careful. Fool and Blue Man, what did we talk about, guys? This is the hubris, this is the ego, this is the overconfidence. You cannot be invading here. You don't have the prio now getting collapsed on by Kaz, but it's going to be the Fool that drops first. It's actually going to be Blue Man that drops first with the Fool shortly after. That Super Mega Death Rocket would have hit, but it doesn't even matter because they kill both of them before they even land. So, this is the issue, right? You're already behind. You have camps up. There's no reason to be up there. You know that they're going to just be running back up. That blue buff is up. There's no real reason for them to be bot side other than drag right now. And you know Jinx is just fine farming. So why are you trying to invade there? It really just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, we see here Trundle burning the teleport, which means they're probably going to concede Drake to the Kernals. We'll see if the Kernals do elect to pick it up anytime soon. We'll see what Dr. Mundo does here. He does have teleport. We'll see if he teleports back top to kind of contest against this Trundle split push, or if he's going to walk towards Drake. My guess is teleport, and he does, yep. And at this point, Kernals are going to go for the Drake. If I were the Astronauts, please don't contest. Just give it to them. Get gold elsewhere.
There's no world or universe in where you can test this. What they might do is they might try and catch out this Jinx before, but you can see that Dragon just taken a bit too quickly. Fallen and Greeno walking forward. The Satchel Charge, though, try and buy some time, and a little bit of unnecessary ultimate from the Renata there. It has to take over, but right now, there's not a lot to be dealt with on the map. Kernals kind of just have full control. They're 2,000 gold up. So much of this is on your hyper carry Jinx. The bright side for the Astronauts, right, the consolation prize is that they were able to get those grubs, which is nice. That's going to help your Trundle split push. That's going to help your Ziggs maybe get some of these towers. But not a whole lot else. Billy Badass getting caught. They maybe bait Krabadabadoo in, but without a satchel, without a pull, there's not really a lot to be had. Meanwhile, on the top side, Cernos doing a lot of damage to Kaz, and with this Bork, able to start really taking these fights. Meanwhile, flash from Billy Badass, Blue Man trying to tank that Super Mega Death Rocket, but once they get this tower, Jinx is going to get excited. Tyler Durden trying to chase down, uses the flash, does manage to take him out. Billy Badass getting chased down as well, knocked up by the Tom Kench, and Tyler Durden will pick up another kill. It's actually going to be Crab that picks up the kill, but still, 6-1 and 6 on the Jinx, 3-1 and 9 on this Tom Kench. It's going to be Astronauts who do manage to trade out that Rift Herald while all this is going on. Because you do have to keep in mind, right? Cat hasn't fallen her head, but if you don't have that Jinx in the fight, you just don't have as much damage. You can't reasonably take all these reliable fights against someone like Cernos, against someone like Defoe. But you can take these 2v2s, especially now that Krabadabadoo is here. The Encore comes out, and it's going to be Crab picking up the kill. Fool, under tower, needs one more auto, and he will get swallowed whole. Shot right back into the waiting arms of the rest of the Kernals as the damage comes through. Greeno with one more, but it's going to be Crab picking up another kill, his 5th of the game, with that Heartsteel on the Tom Kench. And this bot lane is absolutely taking over the game for Kernals.
Yeah, the game is just way too high-paced, and unfortunately for the Astronauts, it's in the favor of the Kernals. They're grabbing their blue buffs. They have vision out. No, they don't have vision out. They have the Astronauts have vision out, but unfortunately, they're just way too behind. 5k difference at 16th, 17th minute.
Yeah, it is absolutely brutal here. And if you're the Astronauts, what you need to do is you need to sit back, farm, and get gold on Defoe. Realistically, yes. Defoe's going to be the one who's going to be able to cut through these tanks and win these sort of catch and front-to-back fights. Meanwhile, on the top side, Cernos and Kaz having a bit of a brawl. Has to be careful, though, right? Kaz, once that maximum dosage is over and you don't have that healing, Cernos can absolutely just ult and heal off you and stop you from really being able to do anything, right? That healing is the only thing keeping you alive. Now in the mid lane, another engage from Krabadabadoo. Does manage to land the slow. Satchel charge did manage to get him away, but the slow's not quite going to be enough to buy enough time. Getting run down once again, trying to give that kill over Greeno, and it will land another Heartsteel stack from Blue Man. One more auto will be able to possibly eat, but Blue Man going to be able to get out just in time.
Yeah. I think Billy is trying to force way too... Oh,
Super Mega Death Rocket. And the E from Greeno will be enough. Now the Berserk comes out, chasing him back into the Fool, but it's not going to be quite enough damage. Tyler Jordan already at half. Defoe and Fool might be able to get a little bit of something, but it's going to be really hard. You can see the damage coming down, but with no flash, no way in, not going to be able to get that shutdown on the Jinx. And like we were saying, this is just brutal, right? You keep trying to make these plays happen, you keep trying to push up, and you are able to get towers, you're able to get that gold on Billy Badass, but it's so rough when you just keep dying over and over and over again to get these advantages. You do still have the Herald, possibly able to break that top, maybe that bot tower, get that, what's called that objective bounty. But with the drag up, that's sole point in a minute. The Jinx is already 2 items. You know, you have your Tom Kench support working on second item after already building a tower. Still looking for a dive now. Gets the knock up onto Cernos. Looking for a little bit more. The pillar is good, but one more auto will allow Cernos to get swallowed up here. Crab trying to buy a little bit of time, but now with the Renata here, they do realize that Cernos is actually going to be able to 1v2 them if they're not careful. Krabadabadoo taking the jump out. Had to use both sums there. Now Cernos getting run down. And it's going to be Fool. Oh, you can't jump that wall. You can't jump that wall. Not going to be able to get anything. Krabadabadoo grabbing Kaz back in, going for it, but shooting him right back out, and it's going to be the Fool who's getting turned on here. The Heartsteel proc going out, Super Mega Death Rocket for the extra damage. Cernos getting run down over on our off-screen. Fallen trying to get a little bit of extra damage. Kaz taking out one. Hecarim able to take out Cernos, who is trying to auto back, get a little bit of that res power back, but he's not going to be able to. 2 for 0 now, but in the mid lane, Tyler Jordan might be caught out. The stun is good. The damage is good from Defoe. He needs just a little bit more. The burn ticking down. Is Tyler Jordan actually going to get out of here? No way! And, okay, well, it won't actually be the Mega Inferno Bomb. It'll be the very last tick of burn from Defoe's Blackfire Torch that takes out the shutdown. And honestly, if we're being real, that's probably the best case scenario. You really do want Defoe to be the one with the scold. Even going Leandries over... Oh, wait, no. Going Rallies over Leandries. Don't know how I feel about that one in the game state. You kind of need that extra damage. And while that is unfortunate, Tyler Jordan is going to be giving that shutdown over to Defoe. Fallen was able to pick up that extra kill on the top side. Kaz was able to pick up an extra kill as well, already going for the Swarmugs You have the Shojin, you have the Black Cleaver, you're going for that Soul Point drag. Astronauts need a whole hell of a lot more than just a Jinx shutdown. We're looking at now an almost 10k, around like a 9, almost 10k gold lead at 20 minutes into the game. Score is 23-6. Soul Point already 20 minutes in. You know, Baron's up. They could realistically try and force a fight around Baron, even though it's just spawned, if they really want to, or they could just play it safe, look for another pick before trying to find that, and sort of look for that soul win condition.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, being this far behind at the 20-minute mark isn't helping at all. If you're looking at the vision line as well, it's a struggle bus at the moment on the side of Astronauts. I think if you're this behind, it's really hard to spend your gold on vision. As we see, just trying to go for the Seraphine.
Yeah, looking for it. Might be able to get it one more auto, but Greeno with the fadeaway. That last tower shot will take out Cerdanos there in the bot side, and it feels really desperate for Astronauts. Like, they're just trying to throw everything at a wall and see what sticks, but unfortunately that wall is hydrophobic. There is absolutely nothing going for it. Absolutely nothing that they're able to get.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think they're even at this point where they need to go for something. I guess they really want to grab that objective bounty, but I think they can just slow down the game again, just get some gold and not force these fights. I think they could be in a spot where they could make a comeback, but if they keep forcing and they don't have the vision laid out, it'll be tough. Like right now, we see an enormous amount of vision for the Astronauts on the bot side, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, I mean,
no
all that is mostly a remnant from that last dragon, right? Should see those wards expiring soon. Meanwhile, Crab goes in with the Tongue Lash again onto the Renata, but able to get a nice little pick. Blue Man interrupting it, or sorry, I think it was the Satchel Charge that interrupted it. So not going to be able to engage, but yeah, like you said, we really need to slow this game down. I think this really is Kernals' game to lose at this point. That being said, Tyler Durden getting caught out in the mid lane is absolutely one way to make it happen. Getting run down now by the Fool. Krabadabdoo, though, is in, able to heal up this Jinx, able to put that shield on. The hostile takeover does manage to land onto Greeno, but the encore onto 3 people is good. Tyler Durden with the first kill of the fight. Kaz now trying to run forward, is going to be able to tank up this tower with the Heartsteel, looking for Blue Man. They're able to get the shutdown. Blue Man getting the res off, has to back up, but the stun from Defoe might be enough. Finally getting another shutdown. Meanwhile, on the top side, Cerdanos able to sort of drain tank here with that board. Get a lot of healing down, but it's going to be Tyler Durden with one. Krabadabdoo with another. Tyler Durden trying to run down, trying to chase out Billy Badass. Flash forward from Defoe. Will land the stun and will land the shutdown as Billy Badass manages to land the shutdown onto Greeno. And speaking of just buying our time, sitting under tower and waiting for them to get over aggressive, yeah, it is absolutely Kernals' game to lose, but they absolutely might. Really nice play there from the Astronauts. A really good fight. Kernals were fighting well, but a little bit of overextension there right at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think they were just a little too excited there on sealing the series. You saw Kaz as the Mundo kind of going past the 2nd tier tower to the 3rd tier tower, trying to get the brand and kill him. And unfortunately, when the Jinx is that low in health and has to kind of be on the backline there, it's a little bit tough to be forcing that distance as the Mundo, because in that moment, like, there's just too much damage going on between the turret, between the brand, between the Ziggs. I think at that point, as Mundo, you just want to be with your team and kind of split the fight a little bit too much there. But good on the side of Astronauts for capitalizing and what seemed to be a dire situation. I hope they don't take this win and be overconfident with it, right? That's what we want to avoid. They're still behind by about 6-7k. So if they can play more calculated, that would be great.
Yeah, you're still very far down. There's absolutely no universe where you should be trying to push this as far as maybe you might want. Realistically, what you should be doing is relaxing, trying to get vision, but while they try and get vision, just immediately collapse on by Fallen, by Krabadabdoo. They do manage to pick off Tyler Durden once again, and I mean, hey, consistently killing this Jinx is definitely one way back into the game, but if you're getting caught out and consistently sacrificing your lives for it, I don't know if it's worth it. Now a fight in the bot side, Cerdanos versus Kaz. Cerdanos should win these extended fights, but yes, Kaz, with that maximum dosage, does have the movement speed to make sure that Cerdanos can't chase him down, but Cerdanos does manage to land that Bork slow. Does a lethal tempo, and I think if he kept hitting, he might be able to win that fight, but doesn't want to risk it. Probably the only player on this team who's trying to be a bit more cautious now. At this point, you can see just so many deaths everywhere on the map. You finally have extra items scaled up. You can see Defoe finally getting that magic, blighting gem I believe going into a Void Staff. So finally getting into some of that magic resist, armor penetration, sorry, magic penetration. But there's not, if you realize, there's not a whole lot of MR on
Yeah,
Kernals
no.
as of yet. Just a lot of HP. 2 Heartsteals, 2 Warmogs, Sterax, Black Cleaver, and I think you should have just gone for the Leandries, right? Like, that's so much more impactful here, but right now we're seeing that Dragon already started up. Tyler Durden absolutely rushing it down, and they'll get excited. They will get the Dragon, they will get the Soul, and the fight afterwards as well. The Flea onto 2. The amazing Fear from Fallen goes in. Tyler Durden with a double kill. 1 kill for Kaz. Now might just push in the mid lane, might just look for this game, but Tyler Durden caught out again. The stun here, the heals coming through. Is it going to be enough with the barrier? Tigrino trying to get a little bit more. Tyler Durden ticking down, but one last tick would have done it in. A really nice shield there from Greeno to stop him from going down. And yeah, Tyler Durden has been a little bit too feisty sometimes, but clearly it's been working out. 10, 4, and 10 on that Jinx, 20 of the 33 KP.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in terms of itemization, I think you're right. I think going for the Leandri is a little bit bigger for the brand, especially considering you're behind. They're not building any MR at the moment. I think getting that percentage damage a little bit more worth it as we see the foe falling to the combination, really, of Seraphine and Tom.
Yeah. Nice initial slow there from Tom. Greeno just lands that double E, locks him up, hits him with the auto. It's not going to be enough. Oh, man, Greeno, again, with a nice encore just onto 1. And, I mean, maybe if you're an auto, you're not expecting to get solo ulted, but there's no really reason not to. Now just getting run down. Tyler Durden picks up the Fool. Billy Badass exhausted. Hit up with that Heartsteel. An extra little proc there from the Jinx and the Shock Pistol. A triple kill there for Tyler Durden. And it is just Cernos left alive. Defoe up in 10, so they might not be able to quite end if Defoe's able to get some of that Pyroclasm damage down, but they are pushing in that bot side. You can see Kaz tanking the tower to make sure that they have the minions. They might just go for the end here. You can see Greeno pushing in the mid lane as well, going for 1 inhib, trying to get those minions. Defoe with the damage down. Pyroclasm popped as well to get a little bit of damage down. Fallen popping very low, but it's not quite going to be enough. Blue Man back up as well. They will be able to take out at least 2 of these inhibitors. We'll see if they can go for the game. Walking forward, Blue Man has to be very careful. You can see, don't forget, the Q range for Tahm Kench scales with that health and hitbox damage. Now Cernos flashing out to dodge that hostile takeover, but the damage so massive here. Has to be careful of this pillar, and you can see they really want to end the game right here.
Yeah,
Super Mega
do.
Death Rocket goes wide. They need a little bit more damage. If they're able to get the Fool and get excited, they're going to be able to find it. Krabadabdoo with the fadeaway Q. Now jumping in onto Defoe. Needs one more. Puts him into his belly. Blue Man getting run down by Kaz. In the meantime, Defoe will be taken out by Tyler Durden. Blue Man ticking down to the res timer, and it's not going to be enough. The Super Mega Inferno Bomb, sorry, the Mega Inferno Bomb, just that. Not going to be able to land. An extra heal from Greeno, and Tyler Durden chasing down that Nexus, chasing down the game, and what a game from that sub. Hurricanes be damned. Kernals and their sub managed to find a dominant Game 3 victory.
Man, what a vintage game from Crab, though. You called it earlier when Tahm Kench had that early kill. It seemed like, oh, a support shouldn't get the kill gold, but man, it made a humongous impact in that game. Crab could go super aggressive, could flank, and there was really no way to kill him. I mean, 1 death, 29 assists. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah, that Tahm Kench had the gold of a top lane Tahm Kench, right? Did not have support income there, it felt like. Look at that, 10,000 gold. 10,200 gold on the Tahm Kench. The only people ahead of him on the enemy team were the mid and carry who were farming the entire game. And even then, only by about 600 gold. That's only 2 kills. That's only, a handful of waves from being the same gold value. Actually had almost as much as his Seraphine in the mid lane, which is really funny. But Seraphine was also playing much more of a sort of supportive backline CC, support damage, getting the shields off, right? The big story of this game was the bot lane. Tyler Durden, Krabadabdoo on the Jinx, Tahm Kench, very, very strong. Fallen as well, can't be underestimated. A lot of that comes from those early ganks, right? Just over and over and again, absolutely setting up a tent in bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very close game in the initial phases, but it kind of got rolled over towards the later part of the laning phase. And you're right, that bot lane, there was just so much warding that was not happening on the side of Astronauts. A lot of disrespect given to Fallen. They kept on assuming that the Hurricane was like upper mid when clearly he wasn't. I mean, you have your Trundle being pushed against from this Mundo. Your mid, I think Brand was also pushing. So Hecarim could only be in 2 locations, mid and bot. You don't see him mid. So I think you have to kind of assume he's going bot. And it was just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for the Astronauts. You know, you were feeling so high going into this game, and then everything just come crashing down over and over and over again. That being said, again, like we've said before, Astronauts are definitely a team you cannot count out ever. This is only the first week, and while that last game showing was pretty abysmal, they can always come back in week 2, week 3, week 4, keep coming back in playoffs. Defoe has won this league 3 times. Can't count them out. That being said, we need to give credit where credit is due. Giggle with the first 2 games, despite all the disconnects, played quite well with the Kernals, and then subbing in Tyler Durden. All of the Kernals, even without the captain, just playing absolutely beautifully in that last game. And, you know, we talked about this a bit in the draft. Kernals are one of those teams that I think a lot of people were memeing on, you know, locking Crab in support, but Crab shutting up the haters absolutely in these games. Some amazing games there on the autofield support. Great team coordination as well from a team that, you know, only has like had a couple games together, but you know, that sort of EDL x BOL players playing together, Fallen, Kaz, Crab, Giggle, all these players just coming together for an absolute masterclass in that last game, and really great props to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, you're right. I think a lot of people were memeing on Crab, but he played out of his mind, especially on this Tom Kench. If this is just the first series that we're seeing him here, can't wait to see what else he kind of brings out the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say, you know, keep your eye on Crab. Definitely silence the haters there. Hoping to see a lot more performances like that to see this transition into the support role. You know, maybe a flex here and there for top lane for some spice just to make a little bit more content. But for right now, I think we've said all that can be said. Good luck to both of our teams in the next week. We will be casting Sapphire in the upper division in the next week. For now, we will be heading off. Thank you all so much for watching our first week of the BOL Season 2 Draft League. I have been Noctisera. With me in the booth has been Manatsu, and on the production desk has been Caddy. Thank you all so much, and have an excellent night.
Good night.